Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed!
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, off we go. Happy Friday morning to you. Welcome in. The Rob Brown radio program is on the air. This, my friends, is the Fan Upstate. Welcome in. What a day, what a day, what a day, what a day, what a day we had yesterday in day number one of the NCAA Men's Championship Basketball Tournament. What a day we have lined up for you today. Is not only do we have day two on the men's side, but we have day one on the women's side as well, and we are going to get into all of that coming up later on in the show. We've got NFL news and notes we got to get to. We're going to check in on the NBA today. Greenville Triumph captain Brandon Fricke set to join us at 8:40 this morning. And coming up at 9 o'clock, if everything goes well, and if they are not lazy and get out of bed, a nice little treat, because in the 9 o'clock hour, we are going to be joined by Diesel and Cole Bryson, the new host of our new show, Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole, that is going to be starting right here on these very same airwaves coming up next Monday. Looking forward to all those conversations and more. Again, I am Rob Brown. The pleasure is mine. Back in the network studio. Guy in charge of the broadcast today, my guy Brandon, is in charge of everything. What's up, buddy? How we feeling?
Let's get it. It's Friday. Getting down on Friday. Never again.
It is Friday. And, of course, Friday means day two of the NCAA tournament. What a day we had in day number one. So far, you know, good news, bad news. The good news is only a few of y'all have seen your brackets in tatters so far. All right. Brandon, how many Sweet 16 teams did you lose yesterday? Any?
One.
Just the one.
Yep.
Very nice. Very nice. Just the one for Brandon. I am currently down 3 Sweet 16 teams already. I have lost Drake, who I had moving on. Drake allowing the Washington State Cougars to come back for exactly and precisely no reason last night at all. I have lost Drake. I did put in my bracket. Man, I got to tell you, there is nothing worse. I feel like the biggest challenge when it comes to picking brackets, is it's very easy to overthink the bracket, and it's also very easy to underthink the bracket, right? Like, I think it takes more than just a cursory glance and going with a lot of chalk, etc. On the flip side, I think we can overthink it, right? Like, I spent 4 days talking about how I really genuinely thought that the Oregon Ducks were going to play a better basketball game, and getting Dante back. What a beast that guy was for the Oregon Ducks yesterday against South Carolina. I thought, all right, you know, like I said all week, I think Oregon's the better team. I think Oregon's in the perfect setup for an upset here. And then we started talking to Gamecock fans, and then I started listening, and I started getting into the mind a little bit of the Gamecock faithful. I started listening, and I just assumed, and I'm almost wondering if I didn't make a mistake with Clemson here today as well. We'll talk about that in a little while. But, like, I got myself to a point where I bought into, okay, this team can't be that bad again. This team can't shoot that poorly again. This team can't get that confused again. This team can't come out and lay an egg like they've been laying the last couple of games of the regular season and into the SEC tournament against Auburn. Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can do that, and they did do that. I am disappointed. I am disappointed, not in the loss, Brandon. I mean, listen, it's the NCAA tournament. Every team of this 64-team bracket, with the exception of one, is going to take a loss. Losing doesn't hurt me all that much. In fact, if anything, I look and I go, well, you could be Kentucky, for instance, getting dropped by the Oakland Golden Grizzlies last night. Sure. What disappointed me was how completely outclassed South Carolina looked yesterday.
They look like a lost puppy.
Yeah, they were just outclassed. Dante was owning them on the glass, and again, like, numbers wise, it's very interesting because if you looked at the numbers from this game, I don't think that you would have thought that this team didn't just lose but got beat by 14, right? Like, South Carolina shot 45% from the floor. I went in saying what? South Carolina needed to shoot upwards of 45% from deep. They did, 45.8% from three. They hit 12 out of 19 from the stripe. They had the only problem, I think, that got you, the only number that I think you looked at. Look, they had 17 assists to Oregon's 16. They had 3 blocks on the game. There were a couple of numbers that ended up killing you. Number one was the rebounding, right? And this was a concern for me. I got concerned that you were going to get beat on the glass, and you did. 26 rebounds to 32 rebounds for Oregon. You kept them off the offensive glass. They only had 5 offensive rebounds. In fact, South Carolina had more offensive rebounds than Oregon did. You kept them off the offensive side of the glass, but they wiped the floor with you on the defensive side. You did not get as many second chance opportunities as I would have liked, as they brought down 27 defensive rebounds. 32-26 was your rebounding margin. You had almost an identical number of assists, 17 for South Carolina, 16 for Oregon. Where you got smoked was giving away turnovers. Only 3 steals recorded by the Gamecocks, 8 takeaways, and then the personal foul number. 22 personal fouls committed by the Gamecocks to just 15 for the Oregon Ducks. Oregon shot 30 free throws. South Carolina shot 19. So in the rebounding number and in the free throw disparity, that's where this game got lost. That and the fact I host a bunch of shows across the BetQL network, and one of the guys that I get the chance to host with is a guy by the name of PJ Glasser. PJ's a good dude, super smart college basketball guy. And when we were breaking down the tournament and we got to this game, on the national level, I said, look, I think Oregon's the better team. This game comes down to whether or not South Carolina's three-pointers are going through the net. I really believe that. It turns out that's not what this game came down to. I was just wrong about that. You were 11 of 24 for 46%. It's about as good as you could ask a college basketball team to come up with in this spot. The problem was the rebounding. You got out-rebounded. The problem was the turnover margin, specifically giving up 8 steals, 8 takeaways for free to the Oregon Ducks. And Jermaine Cousinard, a former South Carolina Gamecock, PJ used the term when I was on with him this past week. He used a term that I hated when he said it. But then once I started thinking about it, and now that we are half of round 1 deep in the books, he used the term a narrative bet. This is a narrative bet. And I said, listen, I'm a bettor, I'm a gambler. I think I hate that term. I think I hate the term narrative bet. I think I hate the term narrative bet because of all the things I've ever said on the radio about gambling, which is rule number 1, never bet your own team. And rule number 2, never bet with your heart. Do not let your heart make selections for you. Do not let your emotion make selections for you. You will start to eat L's if you do that. And PJ said, yeah, I agree with that 99% of the time, but sometimes there are narrative bets. And I said, what do you mean by narrative bets? And he said, it's one of those things that you look at and you go, this is too good of a story for this not to happen. And whether you like it or not, Jermaine Couisnard, who was a Gamecock, Jermaine Couisnard, who left South Carolina when Frank Martin got fired. He was on that list of guys that was, the Frank Martin's dude, the Martin's militia of Gamecock players. When Frank Martin got let go, Jermaine Couisnard took off. He headed up to Oregon. He got a crack at his former team last night. 14 of 22, 5 of 9 from deep, went to the stripe 7 times, knocked down all 7, ended up registering 40 points against his old team. That's a narrative bet. He said this is the type of cat that in a game like this, you recognize what a story it would be if he gets this win, and you make a bet based on the fact that sometimes these guys, there's nothing on paper that says Jermaine Couisnard's having a 40-point night. He is. In the history of the Pac-12, he is the 4th player in the history of the conference. He is the 4th player to record a 40-point night in the NCAA tournament. You can't account for that, okay? That doesn't happen. That breaks precedent. History does not have those types of score lines in them, but you got narratived. This was a game, and I'm not saying I think necessarily that Jermaine Couisnard had this circled in red on the calendar. It's not to think that Jermaine Couisnard was like, let me go out there and let me get a little revenge tour going. Let me go out there and show them what they were missing out on by creating an environment where I felt like I wanted to transfer and go somewhere else. But, sometimes something gives you a little spark. Sometimes something gives you a little spark, and that's what appeared to have happened here. So you can't take Jermaine Couisnard getting 40 points into account. You can't take into account how good N'Faly Dante is, right? I told you about this yesterday. Brendan, I don't know if you remember, I mentioned Dante. I think he and Couisnard were the only 2 players from this team that I mentioned by name when we broke this game down yesterday.
I think you did, yeah.
This is a guy in N'Faly Dante. Dante is a guy who missed a lot of time this year. He's a guy who played, I believe, in only 21 games this year. He was dealt a couple of different injuries here and there. The reason that Oregon was in this tournament was because N'Faly Dante came back in time for the Pac-12 championship, and Dante did, throughout the Pac-12 championship, exactly what he did yesterday to the South Carolina Gamecocks. He painted the glass. He kept you away from it. He killed you inside the short-range game. He knocked down everything inside of 7 feet. N'Faly Dante was the reason, and Jermaine Couisnard were the reasons. Now, there are still things out there that I think South Carolina can grow with. I think first and foremost, it is very obvious now that the recruiting/transfer portal window objective for Lamont Paris has got to be, you got to go find a big man. You got to go find a true 5. Respect to BJ Mack. BJ Mack's a power forward who plays in a small big man's body, right? And we saw that yesterday with BJ Mack going 3 of 5 from behind the arc. He knocked down as many threes as everybody else on the team, with the exception of Meechie Johnson, who went 4 of 7. And a couple of those 4 down the stretch were Meechie inside the last 10 minutes of the second half, just trying to find a way to give the Gamecocks some sort of life as we move towards the dying gasp of this basketball game, right? So you're going to have to go find a true 5, a genuine 5. This team plays most of the time with 3 guards and a pair of forwards, not with 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a big man. So that, to me, has to be a Lamont Paris objective, is you have to go this recruiting season, this transfer portal season, you got to go find a big man. The second thing that was disappointing to me was there was one more Duck that I mentioned by name going into this game, and it was Dana Altman. It was their head coach. This guy is a fantastic March coach. This guy is a guy who understands how to squeeze every last drop of juice out of whatever team he's in charge of when you get to the March Madness tournament. And I'm just going to say this. Let me be very clear. I love Lamont Paris. I liked the hiring when it happened. I love that they gave my dude the extension. I think he earned it. I love what this team was and is. We're going to do our South Carolina post-mortem coming up here in just a couple of minutes. I like what Lamont Paris is doing with this basketball program. He got outcoached yesterday, like a lot. He got outcoached a lot yesterday. It's like every time that Oregon came down the floor, they flashed something different at South Carolina, and the Gamecocks didn't know what to do. They started in a man. They flipped to a zone. The minute that South Carolina started catering their offense to play against that 3-2 zone that Oregon spent a solid chunk of time in, Oregon would flip right back and they would go to a man. But it wasn't just a man. Sometimes it was a man with the switch philosophy. Sometimes it was a man with a fight over the top philosophy. Sometimes it was a man that was compacted down and inviting South Carolina to give shots to some of the players that were a little more cold. Sometimes it was an extended man where they were bringing defensive guys outside of the three-point line and saying, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity to beat us inside, but you're going to have to beat us inside. And not at any point to me, and again, I don't hang this on the L of Lamont Paris because there's one other thing I'm about to mention from this game that is outside of his control. But Brandon, Lamont Paris got outclassed yesterday. He got outcoached
hands
by
down.
a very good March coach.
So I wanted to say something about that with Lamont Paris. You know, him coming from the SoCon, and the SoCon traditionally is a 3-point league based off everything I've seen with Furman and all the other teams, including the buckyball situation. I think I agree with you 100% with regards to he needs to find a big man. They should be focused more on building going on the inside versus focusing on the perimeter, because if the perimeter, if you live and breathe by it, you're going to die all the time.
Especially in March. Am I right? BYU, what the hell? We'll talk about that coming up here in just a little while from right now as well. I think the other thing, and this is something that you can't put on Lamont Paris. The South Carolina Gamecock basketball team had, I believe, somewhere between 10 and a dozen missed layups. Can't do it. If you can't knock down buckets inside of 2 feet with great regularity, you don't win in March. That's a real simple formula. If you are getting looks inside the restricted area, if you're getting looks in the paint and you are losing more of them than you are winning, then you are going to lose that basketball game and every other basketball game. It's real simple to me. If you took 10 missed layups, and let's say you make 7 of them layups inside of 5 feet, layups. If you make 7 of those 10 missed layups, we got a tie basketball game. If you make 8 out of those 10 layups, you win the game. Now, I know it's very easy to play Friday morning quarterback. I know it's very easy to sit here in the Casa de Love here at the Bro Cave. I know it's very easy to watch the highlights on the 75-inch and go, oh, well, you're missing your layups and that's going to cost you. But my friends, my fam, let's call this what it is, Brandon. Sometimes obvious things are obvious, and that was obvious. If you can't adjust to a defense, if you can't adjust your offense to a defense that gives you a different look every 2 or 3 possessions, and if you are missing 10 5-footers or closer, you're going to lose when it comes March Madness. You can get away with that when you got Western Kentucky coming to town. You can get away with that when you're playing Stetson. You're not getting away with that with a Pac-12 champion.
No, sir, you're not.
It's real simple. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to run to our first break of the day. When we come back, we are going to take a look at some of the other games up and down the bracket this morning. We are going to take a look at some of the results from yesterday. We are going to take a look at some of the upsets. There were a couple. We're going to take a look at a couple of the upsets that I picked. Some I got very close. Some I nailed. Some I missed by like a lot. We're going to take a look at some of those. It's accountability buddy time. We're going to check in on our bracket competitions and see who's up at the top in our bracket competition. It's a big, fat basketball day in America, my friends. My name is Rob Brown. My guy Brandon back in the network studio in charge of the buttons and the switches and the levers and the gears and the pulleys that keep us on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, happiest of Friday mornings. Let's get it. It's the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk for real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate.
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. The Fan Upstate.
Can you hear everything?
Is here, and so is the
Okay, I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick, okay?
Get there with the Fan Upstate.
Good morning,
Is your
everybody.
home
I'll stay
for
right there.
exclusive
We're gonna step away
Westwood
for
One
just a
coverage for
minute.
the journey to the tournament.
I'm
It's
obviously
March
working from
Madness.
home.
This is absolute madness.
March Madness from Westwood One.
So we're going to be popping on breaks a little bit more frequently than we usually do. But bear with us. Stay right there. We'll be back in 30
$30 Saturday, $25 Sunday, and only $40 for the entire weekend. Kids 12 and under are free. For more details, go to sccomiccon.com or find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Your morning jolt of sports. It's the Rob Brown Show.
You need the Dabo that says, yeah, our fans should be furious. They should be furious with me. Instead, you got the Dabo that's going, hey, winning's hard, man. It's tough to do. Not everybody can do it. Well, a lot of other teams are doing it, Coach. The best is the standard. Well, it's not right now. You are, by definition, by your own phraseology, not meeting the standard. You need 2010 Dabo back, not 2023 Dabo, because 2023 Dabo is prideful and comfortable. 2010 Dabo was trying to kick ass to prove he deserved to be there. The Clemson Tigers became a dynasty because Dabo was not prideful and comfortable. He was angsty and he had a point to prove. After a decade of having college football in a stranglehold, this dominance does not go out in a blaze of glory. It goes out with a...
Yeah.
But you need to take the wide orbit computer out of utility every time we go to break and put
Okay.
it back in utility every time we start a segment.
Okay.
So we got to remember to do that every single segment. And for those of you that are watching at home, you get a little background radio. This is how the game really works. This is how the magic gets made, man. Poor Brandon got like 19 things added onto his plate this morning because of this.
All right, we have 40 seconds. $15 seconds, sir.
All right.
All right, coming back.
Brown Show.
Only on the Fan.
The Fan.
Upstate.
It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Ever so wonderful to have you with us on a, I hope, lovely Friday morning. We are taking a look at the first half of the first round of the NCAA men's basketball tournament yesterday. And let's just start going through some of these games and some of these results. There are a few of them that we don't really need to spend a ton of time talking about. North Carolina blows the Wagner Seahawks out of the water. No 1 seed upset on day number 1. 18 points for a couple of Seahawks players, but it was not enough as you got 22 out of RJ Davis, including 4 of 7 from deep. Armando Bacot throws down the double-double, 20 points, 15 boards. Also had 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block in that game as well. You got 16 off the bench for North Carolina out of Jalen Withers yesterday. Just one of those games where Wagner was outclassed. I mean, it's a 16-1 matchup. 99.99999% of the time, this is the type you expect there. The 2 seed Arizona went up against Long Beach State. Listen, Arizona won this game by 20. 85-65 was your final. Long Beach State made this interesting for about 33 minutes of the game. For about 33 minutes of the game. It was 35-41 at halftime. Early in the second half, Long Beach had themselves a little mini run that they put together. They made a pass at Arizona, but at the end of the day, Arizona is who Arizona is. Listen to this, though, and this is why I've got Arizona moving into the Final Four, but I think I might have screwed up here. I might have. This is one of those, I told you, sometimes you overthink your bracket. Sometimes you underthink your bracket. I think I might have underthought Arizona. I liked what Arizona did down the stretch. I like late season Arizona. They carried momentum into this tournament. I liked Arizona. The Arizona Wildcats, of their 85 points, all 85 came from the starters, with the exception of 8. You had 8 bench points. All 8 bench points came from one cat. All 8 bench points came from Jaden Bradley. Every other point, you had 5 Arizona starters score in the double digits, 13, 11, 20, 15, and 18 for Johnson, Bayo, Boswell, Larson, and Love, respectively. Arizona does not have a lot of depth, and that came out yesterday because every time that Arizona went to the bench, which was not very frequently, they had 2 bench players that played double-digit minutes yesterday. Lewis played 13. Bradley played 23. Nobody else played more than 8 minutes off the bench. But whenever Arizona would go to the bench, Long Beach State would make a little baby run at him. Long Beach State would kind of knot the score up, close the score up just a little bit. So I am now a little bit concerned about the Arizona Wildcats out of the bottom of that bracket. They get the Dayton Flyers in round 2 on Saturday. That is a matchup with a team in Dayton that was, I called Nevada to win that round, and I basically put that game on the back burner with about 8 minutes left to play because Nevada had put Dayton away, except for they didn't. What did Dayton outscore Nevada like 20 to
2 run?
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable. Nevada, that was, so far, Nevada had the choke job of the tournament. Through day 1, Nevada, to me, had the choke job of the tournament, with the exception of maybe the Kentucky Wildcats, who we're going to come to here in just a minute. But this Arizona team, I'm now a little afraid. Honestly, I'm a little afraid of this Dayton matchup all of a sudden. Arizona's got the superior talent across the starting 5, just like they did in round 1 against Long Beach State. But the more you end up with teams like Dayton, and then potentially a team like either Clemson, Baylor, New Mexico, not as much worried about Colgate, but a team like the other 3 they could see in the round of 16, Clemson, Baylor, or New Mexico, when they start running into teams that have a little bit more depth, have more Division I quality players coming off the bench than Long Beach State University does. I don't know that Arizona's got the depth to go with that. So I've got Arizona. I apologize. I've got them in the, I've got them in my Final Four. I have them knocking off North Carolina to get to the Final Four. Listen, it's one game, and this is why we play tournaments and don't just hand them out on paper. The team that played for North Carolina yesterday can beat the team that played for Arizona yesterday. They just can. Looking down some more of the opening round games from yesterday. Iowa State over South Dakota State. Your final in that one, 82-65. The Jackrabbits just don't have it to match up with Iowa State. This game was a 7-point difference at halftime. Iowa State outscored it by 10 in the second half, and they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They try to limit the possessions. That being said, South Dakota State didn't play poorly. 43.5% from the floor. They were 10 of 24 for 42% from out wide. But look, Iowa State shot almost 60% from the floor. They shot almost 50% from the arc. They play good defense, good disciplined defense. South Dakota State only had 11 free throws in this game. This is the Iowa State that I was talking about when we were doing our breakdowns earlier in the year. This is the Iowa State that I think makes it into the Sweet 16. Now, I'm screwed because I had Drake. We're coming to them here in just a minute. I thought Drake was going to be a nice little Cinderella team for us this year, and Drake just absolutely crapped the bed yesterday. We're coming to them in a minute. Look, Tennessee did exactly what I thought they were going to do against St. Peter's. I do not bet in college basketball, and only very, 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 very deep breath, very, very, very rarely am I going to bet a odds-on favorite to cover up a 20-point or more spread. I just don't do it. 20 points is a lot of points to win by, even when you're talking top to bottom of the bracket. I took Tennessee to cover up 22.5 points. That's one of the bets that I won yesterday. I took the Volunteers to win that game by 22.5 or better, and they did over St. Peter's. One Peacock in double digits yesterday, one at 9. Nobody else had more than 6. And then there's Tennessee. Dalton Connect, 23 points, 8 of 15 from the floor, 4 of 8 from deep. Tennessee went to the stripe 25 times, knocked down 18 of them, and out-rebounded St. Peter's by like a lot to a little. 47 rebounds for Tennessee, 21 for St. Peter's. Tennessee just the better team. It took Creighton a very long time to pull away from the Akron Zips. They finally did win by 17, 77-60 is your final score in that one. And once again, listen, there are things, there are narratives, there are stats, there are figures that you want to keep a lookout for when you get to March. One of them is 3 points. If you are a team, as we talked about with South Carolina, and as happened, if you're a team that lives by the 3 in March, you become a team that dies by the 3, right? If you're BYU, same story. If you are a team that lives by the 3, you are a team that dies by the 3. It is very difficult to put together a team that runs and relies on lifting a bunch and making a bunch of 3-pointers. It's hard to do in March when every team you come up against is getting progressively better and better. Yesterday, 6 of 28 from the floor went the Akron Zips. They were shooting the lights out from behind the arc. The problem is the lights stayed on. They just weren't dropping, shooting about 21% from the floor last night. This was just a war of attrition. This was just Creighton allowing Akron to wear themselves out, and they did. The Blue Jays on to round 2. Illinois, 85-69 winners over Morehead State. The Eagles made this one really juicy for a little while. This was a 1-point game at halftime. It was 39-38 at the half between Illinois, the Fighting Illini, and Morehead State University. Morehead got 27 and 23 out of 2 different players. They had Riley Minix go for 27. He is kind of their leader. He showed it yesterday. They had Jordan Lathan go for 23 in this one. The problem you had for Morehead State was there's no balance. They didn't have anybody else that was able to really pitch in when it started to get dicey. Your other starters, Stetwell Thomas and Miles, scored 8, 6, and 2 respectively, and you had 3 total points off the bench. This was another game that was just a war of attrition. This was another game that just, you just waited. You just waited till the talent level kicked in and showed up. A lot of respect for what the Morehead State Eagles did yesterday, keeping right in the back pocket of Illinois, but ultimately enough was not enough. How about the 14-1 upset? The Oakland Golden Grizzlies last night. And here's my favorite part. Jack Golke for Oakland is the name that you haven't heard this season. You know how I know you haven't heard Jack Golke's name this season? Because I haven't heard Jack Golke's name this season. And all Jack Golke did yesterday in that game was shoot 10 of 20 from behind the arc. My man knocked down 10 3-pointers in this game. You can count on one hand the list of players that had a 10 3-pointer game down the stretch. He ended up with 32 when it was all said and done, as he also had a couple of free throws, but 10 of 20, all he shot was 3-pointers. He did not lift a shot that wasn't a 3 in this game, and he made Kentucky pay. On the flip side, listen, I don't know what the hell's going on with John Calipari. 2021, no invitation to the tournament. 2022, an invitation bounced in the first round. 2023, an invitation bounced in the second round. And now 2024, an invitation bounced in the first round. From the last 4 years, Kentucky has one tournament W. So the thought that I know a lot of Big Blue folks are having this morning is it's time to move on. It's time to try something different. John Cal's not the guy. My friends, you're in trouble. And you're in trouble because you have John Calipari locked in for like a $34 million buyout if you were ready to move on. And in basketball, that's a lot. In football, that might not be the end of the world. In basketball, that's a lot of money to throw at a coach to not be your coach anymore, A, and B, unless you are just willing to be experimental and recognize that sometimes when you go to the lab and you put together an experiment, sometimes that experiment blows up in your face. Who's to say it's not going to get worse? John Calipari is still bringing in elite-level talent to Kentucky. There's no doubt about it. But yesterday, I think Big Blue fans put this team very much on under the microscope. Yesterday, I think, is the first time we all looked at Kentucky and went, something's wrong here, y'all. Something's wrong. We got Houston. Lexington. We have a problem. Because this Kentucky team, down 3 at halftime, never really was able to get a sustained run going against Oakland. And even when they tried to put one together, they fell apart defensively and were letting Oakland just do whatever the hell they wanted. Biggest surprise, Brandon, biggest surprise in round one, Kentucky getting bumped by Oakland? I think it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the one I messed up on. I had Kentucky winning, but when they started saying it on the TV that when Kentucky's down by 5, it's getting harder and harder for Kentucky. There's something going to happen wrong for them. And, I was actually starting to cheer for the underdog. I'm like, even though the Golke said that they were not Cinderellas at the interview at the end of the game, I said they were. They have to absolutely be Cinderellas. They did a fantastic job. They were not scared. They played with big boys. They played big boy ball. And you got to tip your cap to Oakland for what they did.
Fun to watch. Golke go off for his 32. They absolutely are a Cinderella. I'll tell you who should have been the Cinderella today. I'll tell you who I was very close to getting onto this radio show and hitting a victory dance this morning. The Sanford Bulldogs. The Sanford Bulldogs. I thought Bucky Ball had Kansas yesterday. I called this. This was one of my first round upsets, and I swore it was on. I had nailed it. I thought that this was done. You ended up in a spot where with 16 seconds left, Kansas is going the length of the floor on the quick inbound. Back the other way comes Sanford on defense. An all-ball rundown block from behind against the Jayhawk breakaway. And it got called for, and I mean this, the weakest foul of this tournament. And when I say this tournament, I don't mean the weakest foul of this tournament so far. I mean the weakest foul of this tournament. It was all ball, and so in a situation where the Sanford Bulldogs would have had the ball because there were 3 blue jerseys coming back to that basketball, no white ones around. In a situation, I'm not saying they would have won, still had to do something offensively. Sanford would have had that ball with 14 seconds on the clock, down 1, but instead, because the Jayhawk player lost his balance in that spot, it got wiped off the board, and Sanford watched Kansas shoot a couple of free throws and effectively put the game out of reach at that point. I think yesterday, Brandon, I think the officiating was good across the tournament. Honestly, I think the officiating was good across the tournament. There's not a game. There were a couple of games that may be a bad call here and there, but I thought by and large yesterday, the officiating was not something that those of us with loud mouths and microphones were going to wake up this morning ranting and raving about. That one call, however, changed the direction of the tournament, because I do think there was a very good opportunity for Bucky's team to come down, score a deuce, and win this basketball game. And instead, Kansas got handed a Christmas present come early yesterday.
So I'm going to tip my cap to the refs for everything that they did. Normally you don't want to have that kind of situation happen in Sanford and Kansas, where the referees cause the result or the outcome of the game based off of a questionable call. I also want to commend Bucky for not saying anything about the refereeing, because that can be a substantial fine, or it can even be your job kind of thing. So I want to commend him for not criticizing the refs. He said that we were in the position to win and we just didn't get it done in time. I commend Sanford for hanging with the big boy. Yes, it was Kansas, and yes, they had several big players out, but we've seen it all season long. There's a reason why Sanford went perfect at home. Bucky ball is a legit form of basketball that no team is really prepared for. And if Sanford continues on this path, I think for years to come, it's going to be Furman and Sanford each year going for the SoCon championship.
I enjoy this game tremendously. I think a huge nod to Sanford for what they did, and honestly disappointing that they didn't get that opportunity, because that was 100% an efficient chase down block, no foul, all ball, should have been back in the hands of the Bulldogs with a chance to win that game. I do not feel bad about that pick. I did pick Sanford to cover. I did not bet them on the money line. But those of you in the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge, I did have Sanford winning that game in the bracket as well. Let's run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we keep going down the scores from yesterday, round 1, and the first half of round 1 in the record books. We got to talk BYU Duquesne. We got to talk NC State. Nailed it, South Texas Tech. We got to talk Nevada Dayton. Colorado State lays an egg against Texas. Drake had the Cougs beat and then fell apart. Michigan State. Y'all told me never bet against Izzo in March, and I screwed up and did it anyway. We're talking first round when we come back. Rob Brandon and you on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate.
All right.
Be right back.
Alrighty.
All right, guys, we'll step away for just a minute. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for hanging in there, y'all. Good to see you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Yeah, Mike. Some of the brackets are real bad. Some of them are real bad. Some of them are real good. I don't think we didn't have any perfect brackets in our competition.
They said nationwide there's only 1,000 perfect brackets left.
There were 89% of brackets had at least one loss. 89% had at least one loss after the first 3 games.
That's crazy.
Yep.
30 seconds. Ten seconds.
Talk to Robin Lonzo. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. This is the award-winning Rob Brown Show. Mornings.
On the Fan Upstate.
It is indeed the award-winning Rob Brown Show. In fact, the two-time South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year. It's the Rob Brown Show right here on The Fan Upstate. Good morning, my friends. Great to have you as we are talking first-round tournament action. We have made it through a large chunk of the games. Let's keep going. A 5-12 upset that I picked, and I got very, very wrong. A 21-point win for the Gonzaga Bulldogs yesterday. Mark Few does it again. Knocks off the McNeese Cowboys 86-65. McNeese had a lot of momentum coming in to this tournament. McNeese had Will Wade coming in to this tournament. Will Wade is one of the better college basketball coaches in action right now. As I talked about on the show yesterday, LSU did not want to get rid of Will Wade. LSU, in fact, I think was doing everything they could not to get rid of Will Wade. But when the FBI gets involved in your program, it's hard not to move on from that guy. I really thought that Will Wade, with an extra handful of days to prepare, and the athletes he has on that McNeese State team, I really thought Will Wade was going to have this McNeese team ready to go. In fact, I had them carrying on to the Sweet 16. Instead, they get bounced by the Zags in round one, 86-65. And this is one of those games that I don't really think you need to spend a ton of time and analysis on. At the end of the day, Gonzaga was just a better basketball team. I've told you guys the story in the past about my old middle school football coach, a guy by the name of Tom Grant, and we played our rivals prior middle school one year. We got beat like 35-3, and we walked back into the locker room. It was obviously quiet. We were all sitting around on the weight benches. We were all waiting for Tom Grant, who was a gruff ex-military guy, to walk in the room and light into us. And he walked in, and he took off his big, oversized straw hat, and he set it down on the ground next to him. And he sat down on a weight bench, which we never saw Tom Grant sit down. And he took a swig out of his Coca-Cola bottle, and he looked up at us, and he said, "Boys, today you guys had the biggest problem in sports. Sometimes the other team's just better than you are." And that's what this was. Gonzaga was just a better team than McNeese, the McNeese Cowboys. They didn't really do anything wrong, and they didn't shoot the ball particularly well. 33.3% from the floor, just 5 of 22 from deep, whereas Gonzaga shot over 50% from the floor, including 48% from the stripe. Gonzaga just a better basketball team. That's all there is to this one. Brandon tried to talk me into taking the Duquesne Dukes over BYU. He tried to talk me out of going with the Stormin' Mormons. This is a team in BYU that throughout the course of the season, when they had success, they were shooting the three-point ball up north of 41, 42%. Yesterday, just 33.3%. They were 8 of 24, but they were also bad from the field. They shot 38.6% from the field. They ended up with 12 turnovers in this game. The Duquesne Dukes, on the other hand, very, very efficient with the basketball. They shot 46% from the floor. They shot 39% from deep. They did not force anything deep. They were willing to extend out possessions. It was more about having efficient offensive possessions than anything else for the Duquesne Dukes yesterday. Duquesne gets it done 71-67 over BYU, moving on into the next round. And honestly, Brandon, just a disappointing day for BYU. Everything I said that BYU can't do, they did. Everything I said BYU needs to do, they didn't. Duquesne just played efficient basketball. Sometimes that's enough.
Well, Duquesne had something to prove. It had been since 1969 that they had won their last NCAA tournament game, which is a phenomenal amount of time. This sits over 20,000 days. They're the third longest difference between a school making the tournament and winning their first game in That to me, it's astonishing to think that they hadn't won in over 20,000 days in the NCAA tournament, and they had a little chip on their shoulder. And like I told you, there was just something about Duquesne. It's something to prove, and it is BYU, and they haven't shown me that it factor, and they still didn't show me the it factor. And Duquesne got it going. I do think that their run is going to end against Illinois. I feel Illinois is going to come back and play some big boy basketball, and we're going to see Duquesne fall. But I want to give congratulations to the Dukes for getting your first win since 1969.
All right, that's 1 hour in the books already, ladies and gentlemen. Just like that, we reached the end of hour number 1. When we come back here in hour number 2, we got your water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you head to the office today. We will let you know coming up at 8:40. Brandon Fricke, the captain of the Greenville Triumph, is set to join us to talk a little Triumph footy with us. And at 9 o'clock, scheduled, we will find out if they make it or not. I know it's very early for those evening dudes to get out of bed, but scheduled to be joined by the 2 hosts of the newest sports talk radio show to air right here on the Fan Upstate. Starting on Monday, it's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Diesel and Cole will join us at 9 o'clock. We'll talk some basketball. We'll talk some football with Diesel and Cole at 9. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have some fun this morning on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Now, it's time for a Sports Flash. It is one and done for the South Carolina Gamecocks as they fall to the Oregon Ducks yesterday. 87-73 is your final. Why? Jermaine Cousinard, a former South Carolina Gamecock who transferred to Oregon after the firing of Frank Martin, who went 14 of 22 from the field, 5 of 9 from deep, and dumped 40 points against the Lamont Paris-led squad. Michi Johnson led all Gamecocks with 24. You had 13 from B.J. Mack and 15 from Talon Cooper. Not another Gamecock in double figures, unfortunately. However, the U.S. men's national team knocked off Jamaica 3-1 in a CONCACAF Nations League game last night, but they waited until the dying minutes to make it exciting. The U.S. gave up a shocking goal 30 seconds into the match, but Haji Wright scored twice in extra time after Jamaica scored an own goal in stoppage time to send it to that extra time. 3-1, the walk-off for the U.S. men's national team. We'll break that game down and more in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Now, CBS.
All right.
All right, dudes, we're going to step away for just a couple of minutes. Please stay right there. We'll return briefly. Don't go. and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Let's save lives. An introduction to suicide prevention in the Black community is an education program designed by and for the Black community, fostering connection and communication around mental health. To learn how you can encourage help seeking and play a role in saving lives in your community, reach out to your local chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention at afsp.org/chapters. AFSP is an IOC partner. Learn more at iosting.org and on the Odyssey app.
1 minute.
US-based customer service. It pays to discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/purchase.
Is switching your wireless service to Play by Verizon easy? And you get unlimited time to data, $25 a line for 4 lines on the unlimited plan, at an amazing price with no contracts. Should you switch to Play by Verizon? Definitely. Oh, I mean, like a store or switch store and get playbyverizon.com.
The Fan.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville.
W249DL Greenville.
W246CV Spartanburg. CBS Sports Radio. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown Lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only on
The Fan. Upstate.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown radio program underway. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome in. Great to have you all. My name is Rob Brown. Brandon filling in for the great one Lonzo today. Lonzo on vacation. He will make his triumphant return with trumpets blaring and banners unfurled on Monday, but very glad to have Brandon in with us all week long, doing an excellent job. We have obviously talked quite a bit about the first half of the first round of the NCAA tournament coming on later today. We'll spend some time talking about the back half of the first round of the NCAA tournament, including Clemson. One of, actually, I shouldn't even say one of, the most bet against favorite in round number 1 of this tournament. America lined up against Clemson, at least when it comes to putting money on the books. Can they overcome that? We're going to talk about that match coming up later on in the show at 8:40 this morning. We'll be joined by Brandon Fricke. He is the captain of the Greenville Triumph. The Triumph getting a win on the road at SC United, the Bantams, this past Wednesday evening in round 1 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. We'll talk to him about that, as well as this Saturday's matchup against Forward Madison back at home in Paladin Stadium. So that is coming up very, very shortly at 8:40. Brandon Fricke will join us. And then in the final hour of the show, we will be joined by the new host of our new show, which starts on Monday. It's called Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel, Cole and Diesel will join us here on the show. We'll talk to them a little bit about what they see that show being, how that show is going to be structured. We'll give you guys the introductory run through of our new show, Wire to Wire, which starts on Monday from 3 to 7 right here and only on the Fan Upstate. Make sure you stick around for that. All of that coming up later on in the show. Coming up right now on the show, however, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:05 in the morning. It is just about time for you to finish getting dressed, to grab that big old cup of coffee, to hop in the rig, to drive to work, to get settled in, to respond to those emails, to get your day of pretending to be productive underway. And by that, I mean to get your day of watching basketball while you're at work and doing your best to make sure the boss doesn't catch you underway. But at some point during that day of pretend productivity, at some point during the day where you are staring down the hallway trying to make sure that your boss doesn't catch you watching basketball instead of, doing your job, well, at some point you're going to take a smoke break, a water break, whatever kind of break it is that you might take. And when you do take that break, you're going to want to talk about sports. And if you're going to want to talk about sports, you're going to want to talk about these 3 stories in the water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
You hear that?
even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go.
Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to work and start talking sports with your coworkers this morning. When you do, this is what they'll be discussing. It is your water cooler cheat sheet. Let us begin with item number 1. The CONCACAF Nations League currently underway, which features teams from across North, Central, and Latin America. And the U.S. entered this tournament projected to be favorites. Yesterday evening, they went up against a game Jamaica team, the Reggae Boys. And this was a team that's banged up. This is not the best version of the Jamaican national team, which makes this story, as a fan, if we're being honest, a little bit troubling to me. But a win's a win. The Americans knock off Jamaica 3-1 in the CONCACAF Nations League game last night. They waited until the dying minutes to make it excited. The U.S. gave up a shocking goal just 30 seconds into the match. It was the quickest goal scored against the Americans so far this century. And then it stayed that 1-0 scoreline in favor of Jamaica for like a very, very long time. We got to stoppage time in this game. It was 95 minutes later when the Jamaicans scored an own goal. A reserve came on, made the unfortunate mistake, headed a ball past his own goalkeeper into the back of the net, and it gave the Americans life in a game that, frankly, they probably did not deserve to win. The own goal set the game into extra time, and then shortly into extra time, Haji Wright, who was not expected to even be in this game. Haji Wright thought that he was going to be getting some time off during this round of matches in the Nations Cup. He did instead get called up. Greg Berhalter went with a heavy attacking lineup late in this game that included Gio Reyna and Haji Wright. Those two connected to give the Americans a 2-1 lead. Just a few minutes later, they would do it again. Haji Wright netting both goals. Gio Reyna on the assist both times. That ended with a 3-1 scoreline when it was all said and done. I hate to say this. I don't want to say this. I have to say it. Absolutely zero faith in Greg Berhalter. Absolutely none. There was exactly and precisely no reason that this team needed to be in desperation mode last night. You were going up against far from the best team that the Jamaicans could field, and you still needed a miracle. Again, if Jamaica doesn't net an own goal, the Americans lose this game. And frankly, the Americans deserved to lose this game. They were flat. They were uninspired. After Jamaica scored the opening goal, there was no sense to me of urgency out of this team. I didn't see a team that looked at a 1-0 score line and said, all right, let's go out there and just overwhelm this team. Let's just go be athletes. And listen, I've said for years, one of the problems that I used to have with American football is I thought we relied too much on the spray and pray method. I thought we relied too much on, we're going to kick it towards your goal, and then we're just going to see if we can outrun you and out-athlete you down there. They tried it last night. They went back to the well, and it did not work. This team has got to be better. The Paris Olympics are right down the road. We don't need to qualify for the World Cup, but we should be playing like we care. And we just don't. And I know it feels like a lazy take. And I think to some degree, it might very well be a lazy take. It feels like a lazy take, but I cannot help but continue to think that this falls at the feet of Greg Berhalter. There was precisely and exactly zero reasons that this team's not out for blood last night. And instead, they had to have the Jamaicans stab themselves in the heart to get it with the own goal. But a win's a win. Onward and upward for the U.S. men's national team, a 3-1 win over Jamaica last night in the CONCACAF Nations League. Item numero dos. It is one and done for the Gamecocks of South Carolina as they get knocked off by the Oregon Ducks last night. 87-73 is your final. And there were two main reasons why. One of them goes by the name of N'Faly Dante. Dante is a guy who goes 7 foot. He is a brick wall that wears a uniform. The kid's a stud. A lot of folks saying, wait a minute, Rob, how can, and this is a take I've heard a number of times, and it's a take that I don't know how else to say it. Unless you're watching college basketball, I expect this take, right? If you don't watch college shooty hoops, I expect this take. Dante missed a lot of time. Dante is a game-changing player. N'Faly Dante is a player whose mere presence on the floor alone changes the context of a basketball game. I saw a lot of people saying, this is an Oregon team that had to steal a win in the Pac-12 championship game just to make the tournament. And that is true. That is correct. But I'm going to go ahead and say, number one, they won that Pac-12 tournament game not because they got lucky, not because they got hot. They won that game because they finally had their full complement of players, and they finally had Dante, to facilitate, to run the offense through. And he did it yesterday. 23 points, 7 of 9 from the field, 9 of 15 from the stripe as the Gamecocks went a little hacky shack on N'Faly Dante. This is the Oregon Duck team that we had all year. If anything, if Dante is playing in the regular season, not only does Oregon have more than 23 wins at the conclusion of the Pac-12 tournament, but honestly, I think they probably would have been one of the favorites going into that tournament. I don't think they would have been dropped back. This is a team with Dante playing that is probably more like a 5 seed than an 11 seed. This was, and I said it when the bracket dropped, this was a nightmare matchup for the Gamecocks. This was the worst of the draw. I would have rather gotten New Mexico as an 11 seed in the opening round here. I would have rather, honestly, I think I would have rather gotten probably any of the other 11 seeds that would have been a possibility in this spot. I think you got a bad draw. I would have rathered NC State than Oregon, as well as DJ and DJ are playing. I would have rather Duquesne than this Oregon team. And I'm not, I don't think, trying to make excuses for South Carolina, though it will sound that way. You played a damn good Oregon Ducks team that was not full strength for the majority of the season and got healthy and hot at exactly the right time. The other point scorer for Oregon Ducks was Jermaine Cousinard, the former Gamecock. This was, as we talked about back at the beginning of the last hour, this was a narrative game. Why do we love March Madness? We love it for the stories. We love it for the upsets. We love it for the drama. We love it for the John Calipari's. We love it for the Kansas Samfords. We love it for the drama, and there was plenty of it here. Cousinard left Columbia after Frank Martin was let go, found his way to Oregon, and got a crack at his old team. Now, I don't necessarily think that Jermaine Cousinard has any animosity towards South Carolina. He certainly hasn't allowed it to be known if he does, but he damn sure played like he does. 40 points last night on 14 of 22 from the floor, 5 of 9 from deep, and he knocked down all 7 from the charity stripe. The Ducks, 87-73 winners. The Gamecocks bounced in round number 1. Now, a couple of other things going on for South Carolina. That is, of course, the women's basketball team. They have the number 1 overall seed in the women's tournament this afternoon. They will get their day started when they take on the Presbyterian Blue Hose. We're going to break that game down and that bracket down later on in the show. We will break down Dawn Staley's path to the national championship a little bit later on in the show. They are betting favorites to win the tournament. If you're not a gambler, I can't begin to explain to you how absolutely ludicrous it is that a team is a minus money favorite to win a 64-team tournament. And, of course, obviously, Clemson basketball, they come up later on today. Over on the men's side, Clemson has a matchup this afternoon against New Mexico in another 6-11 game. Remember, we've talked about this. Those 6-11 games, they have been very friendly to the 11 seed over the years. Clemson and New Mexico at 3:10 this afternoon on True TV. Let's go to item number 3. I don't know if you guys find this story as compelling as I do, but I do. Yesterday evening, I got a chance, as I do every Thursday, to go visit my friends Trista and Nick on BetMGM Tonight. And some of you that are out driving around during that time period around 11:20 on Thursdays, you may hear me make my weekly appearance on that show. It's one of my favorite things to do. We talked like 4 minutes of college basketball, and then we talked about the Shohei Ohtani story. And why wouldn't we, right? So we got all the developments out of the way yesterday. We found out that $4.5 million were paid out of Shohei Ohtani's bank accounts through wire transfers to an illegal gambling outfit. Then we learned that Shohei Ohtani's interpreter had been fired, and he came out and said, oh, Shohei knew about it. Shohei knew about it. Shohei did it. Shohei actually pulled the trigger on the wire transfers because he didn't trust me with the money. Shohei. And then hours later, wouldn't you know it, but Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, translator, whatever you want to call him, is fired, and the story changes. Now, the story is that Shohei Ohtani did not know about this money, did not know about these wires, did not know about these payments, that they were all made without Shohei Ohtani's involvement at all. And late last night, the news dropped that Shohei Ohtani's representatives are officially asking law enforcement to look into the theft of the $4.5 million that were transferred via wire transfer to an illegal betting outfit. Is anybody else getting conspiracy vibes out of this? Is anybody else getting there's more to the story vibes out of this? Is anybody else looking at this and wondering, and this is what I said last night on BetMGM Tonight, I'm going to say it again here on this show. How has Rob Manfred not launched a whole ass investigation into this already? If this was not Shohei Ohtani, a man who is worth quite literally $1 billion+ to Major League Baseball based on his popularity at home and abroad, back in his native country of Japan, across the other Asian countries. If this was, I don't know, Austin Riley, Gavin Lux, Andrew McCutchen, if this was anybody else, just, you can even pick a good player, but just anybody else besides the $1 billion man, does Rob Manfred not already have an investigation going? Right? Does he not already? Now, he's going to come out. I'm going to go ahead and say this. He's going to come out probably today because people are calling for a response here. He's going to come out today, and what he's going to say is, we fully intend to investigate this, but we're going to let the legal process play out. We're going to let law enforcement do their job. We don't want to get involved and distract from law enforcement doing their job. We want to make sure that they have every opportunity to get to the bottom of this. And once they do, we will start our investigation based on those results. That's what he's going to say. He would launch a full-scale investigation if it was anybody else. I am getting the vibe. I asked if anybody else was. Brandon is raising his hand. I am getting the vibe that we are going to hear something insane coming out.
We're not being told what's really going on. There's something that happened. And I mean, there's no way Ohtani didn't really know about this. I mean, you know, and you even said this yesterday. Does this guy is he the fallback guy that Ohtani really is the gambling person? There's something that we're not being told. You know, we're being told half truth and whole lies.
I agree entirely. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I don't care if Shohei Ohtani's gambling. I don't care if he's gambling. The problem, he's going to be gambling illegally, and going through an illegal bookie is a good way to get yourself in trouble. I don't care if he is gambling. What I do care about is if he's gambling on baseball, first and foremost. And what I do care about is if Shohei Ohtani, it's going to turn out, is going to be Russell Wilson of baseball. He's going to be one of these guys who has such a manufactured image that he becomes unlikable. We'll see. I'll get some more details on this. We'll give them to you later, but that's your water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know. We need to step away for just a minute. When we come back, let's look at this South Carolina-Oregon loss. Let's look at this New Mexico-Clemson game up today at 3:10 p.m. Let's talk shooty hoops. We'll continue our basketball conversation when we come back. Brandon back in the network studio, live from the Casa de Love. I am Rob Brown. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate.
Your one-stop shop for...
All right, guys, be right back. Stay right there. ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Thanks for hanging in there. Rob's levels are so low. I have my volume all the way up. You can barely hear. Yeah, that's you can bring up the StreamYard pot a little bit. Just make sure it's not overmodulating me. Or I can turn up my. Actually, you know what I can do? Hang on, I can't see around my camera. Audio. Let's turn the mic volume. All right, I've turned the mic volume up. Does that make any difference at all?
Yeah, you're better. When you're on, I do have you up higher just because it is so low.
Yeah.
But when he was saying that I was real loud, it's because I was adjusting myself. But I lowered my mic volume down just a little bit.
Okay.
15 seconds.
So is your Final Four still intact on day one? Yes, it is, Zach. My Final Four is still good to go. Fortunately, I've not lost any Final Four teams yet. I know a lot of people did yesterday. A lot of Kentucky brackets out there. I've lost 3 Sweet 16 teams, but no Final Four teams. I think as long as your Final Four stays alive until the Elite Eight, you got a chance.
We're back.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brandon filling in for the great one, Lonzo, today. Broadcasting live from the Bro Cave at the Casa de Love. Some circumstances at the station requiring your boy to be at the house today. So if you join us on our live stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, by searching and subscribing to the Rob Brown Show on YouTube and Twitch, you get to come behind the scenes. You get to see, my dear friends, where it is that Rob Brown has been cooped up for like the last, 24 hours, just working and watching basketball. It's spectacular. If we're being honest with each other, come check us out. Come hang out on the stream. We would love to have you join us here on the stream and here on the show. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Grab it, put it on all your digital devices, and don't forget that you can ask your smart speaker of choice to play 97.1 The Fan Upstate, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Grab yourself a smart speaker and ask said smart speaker to play 97.1 The Fan Upstate. She'll tune in immediately for you, and you can listen wherever it is that you might be. Zach jumped in and said, hey, are your Final Four teams still intact? Here is the good news, bad news as I look at the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. The bad news for your boy is I had Drake in the Sweet 16. They have been bounced. I had Colorado State in the, I had South Carolina in the Sweet 16 in my bracket. They have been bounced. I had McNeese in the Sweet 16 in my bracket. They have been bounced. So I am down 3 Sweet 16 teams so far. The good news is I have lost only, I believe, 1 Elite 8. No, I've lost 2 Elite 8 teams. I have lost from the Elite 8. I have lost actually no teams so far. My whole Elite 8 is intact still. Tennessee, Purdue, North Carolina, Arizona, Auburn, Illinois, Duke, and Marquette. Now, half of them haven't played yet, but my entire Elite 8 is still in consideration right now. As far as the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge goes, as it stands right now, through the first half of the first day, we have got April, Harper, Mike, Tournament Tiger. I see what you did there, and I respect it. I don't like it. It's tournament. I don't respect it. It's tournament. But I do respect it. I do. Yeah, it's a good joke. Brandon and Kelly and John are all 13 games won through the first half of round one. Martin, Josh, Jimmy, Zachary, Joey, Zach, Ashley, Brian, Chris, and Jeremy, Alexander, Andrew, Carter, and those are your 12 wins so far. By the way, and just so you guys know, did have a bit of an issue in that I did not delete last year's bracket challenge. I did not delete last year's bracket, so a lot of folks, unfortunately, did not get the new invite. They just thought the old invite was good, so our last year's bracket competition did roll over. So what I'm going to have to do is I am going to, at the end of this whole thing, I am going to have to basically combine the two brackets. I'm going to have to combine the two brackets and pull the scores over from both sides. So if you look at the bracket competition and you look at and you wonder why in the world do I have 12 games, but Rob's reading all these names above me that aren't on there. That's why, because there are two different bracket pools that will be combined at the end. In the 11 win section right now, we've got Chief Brandon right there in the producer's chair. Brandon is at 11 wins. Brooke, Wesley, Brian, Jeremy, Keegan, P1 Keegan, the 11 win bracket. Scott, Rich, Steven, Sohel, Ty, Tracy, Andrew, Jeffrey, Sean, Zachary, and Jim are all sitting on 11 wins and all very much in the competition right now. Over in our other bracket, our clubhouse leader across both bracket pools. And again, I will share our final results as we move on throughout the course of the tournament itself. There are two pools. A lot of folks in the old one that did not make it over to the other one. So Tracy, currently sitting on 14 wins, is your clubhouse leader. After day one, he has more wins than everybody else. 13 wins. We got Carter Vickers from the drive. Stephen Webb, a P1 in the stream right now. He's got 13. Tim Frisbee, former South Carolina Gamecock, is on 13 on that side as well. In the 12-win region, Dan, Brandon Chandler, Ashley, Allen, Carlos with a K from New York City involved. He's on 12 wins. Jeremy, Skrilla, Chris, John, all with 11 wins. 10 wins for John, Rodney, Joey B, Trey. Here's how I know these brackets can get a little squirrely the deeper we go into the tournament, right? Because your boy Rob Brown ended yesterday with 7 wins. I am at the bottom of both pools right now, okay? But some of my speculative picks are what cost me on day one. My heavy hitters are still alive. My national champions are still alive. My entire Final Four is still alive. My entire Elite Eight is still alive. So I'm in a good spot here, even though I am digging up from the back end. I am currently, and I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to be very, very upset about this, though she is going to celebrate for just a minute and then be disappointed. I am currently, as of right this moment, 3 games back of my own fiance at this point. All right? She got 10 wins on day one. I got 7, 3 games back. The problem is she made an old school mistake. She went home cooking. She went with the Gamecocks all the way to the Natty out of that side of the bracket. She went home cooking, which means there is no way in Hades that she is going to be ahead of me at the end of this thing, but she is ahead of me right now. So have a safe ride to work, sweetheart. Congratulations on winning one day. All right? You got me. You got me for a day. I'm proud of you. So that's where the brackets stand up right now. You can go check them out on the CBS Sports website. Let's see. That is one over on the other bracket. Where do I stand in that one? In that one, I am also way towards the bottom of the mix. By the way, to the at least 2 people who named their brackets Robert Brown. I respect you. I do. I respect you. Thanks for making it weird and confusing for everybody, you trolls. I like it. All right. Let's run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, let's talk Clemson. Let's talk New Mexico. Many of you Tiger Paw clad fans may not be super familiar with the Lobos. Maybe you have not spent a lot of time watching the Lobos. Maybe you've not even seen a New Mexico game, even though you've known they're your opponent for about a week now. Don't worry, I have. I'll tell you all about him, and we will break that game down when we come back. Clemson, New Mexico at 3:10. I'll give you everything you need to know about it when we return. Rob and Brandon with you. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate.
Listen on demand. Have today's show sent straight to your phone. Text Fan Brown to 71307 or listen on demand at thefanupstate.com. This is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. We will be right back. I will tell you who when we come back. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. Sorry I got to go on break so many times. Working from the Casa de Love is a little different than working in the studio. Got a couple of things I got to make sure my settings are good and all that during the breaks. This is also
40 seconds.
That if you check me out on Bet for the Cycle from Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL network on Twitch and on YouTube, or go to the Odyssey app and search and subscribe to BetQL, you can find our stuff there as well. This is where I broadcast that show from. Got the custom jersey layout back here. That goes Greenville Drive, Carolina Gamecocks hockey, and then an old team that I used to support.
10 seconds.
Text us at 71307. Keyword fan. This is the Rob Brown Show with Lonzo. Mornings on the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown and Brandon filling in for Lonzo today. Glad to have him along for the ride. An hour from now, we will be joined by the captain of the Greenville Triumph, Brandon Fricke, will be on the air with us. Looking forward to chatting with him. if the phone lines cooperate. We have got Clemson and New Mexico coming up today. This is very interesting. Clemson, the most bet against seeding favorite in the first round of the tournament. America is backing the Lobos right now. So let's talk a little bit about some of the facts and figures. Then we'll get into the X's and the O's of this basketball competition. New Mexico has covered 23 times in 34 games with a spread this season. If they cover in this game, it'll be interesting. They are 2.5-point favorites. Does not guarantee a win if they cover the spread, but 23 out of 34 is big. Clemson, 17 and 15 against the spread. So they're clipping the spread at just a touch over half the time. If they cover the spread in this game, that's a win outright for Clemson, as they are plus 2.5. Clemson does cover the spread when they are 2.5-point underdogs or more, 83.3% of the time. New Mexico covers as a favorite of 2.5 or more, 72% of the time. In home games, the Lobos sport a better record against the spread compared to their ATS record in road games. Against the spread on the road, they are 5 and 6. Against the spread, the Tigers have better results away than they do at home. They were 8 and 4 against the spread in road games, 8 and 8 at home. This game should, theoretically, we'll see how you Clemson fans turn out. This game should have a slight orange tint to it. This game is right up the road in Charlotte, New Mexico on the other side of the country. I would like to think that Clemson Tiger fans are going to show up in Charlotte to rep the boys. New Mexico outscoring opponents by 11 points per game with a 392 to the positive side scoring differential. They put up 81 points per game. That is 20th in college basketball, but they give up 70.5 points per game. That is the 129th ranked defense in basketball. A name to note, Jalen House leads New Mexico, averaging 16 points per game, the 186th highest ranked in college basketball. Clemson, plus 195 in scoring differential, topping opponents by 6 points per game, averaging 77 per game, 76 in basketball, giving up 71 per game. That is 158th in basketball. What does that number mean? Not a lot. You will keep in mind that a part of the reason that Clemson is in this position is because of the schedule that they played. Brad Brownell put together one of the best schedules out of conference specifically, and then the benefit of playing in an ACC that I think was underappreciated this year. That differential does not mean as much. I'm going to give you the two names. I already mentioned one of them in Jalen House. The other name that Clemson fans need to be dialed in on today, aside from Jalen House, is JT Toppin. JT Toppin is a rebound machine. Guy's averaging just a touch shy of 10 rebounds a game, and a good chunk of those are, pardon me, offensive rebounds. Clemson has got to make sure that JT Toppin is not wiping the offensive glass. If he is, you're going to be in a world of hurt. New Mexico, in terms of league efficiency, they are 68th in college basketball, averaging 99.8 points per 100 possessions and allowing 86 points per 100 possessions. That is the 19th ranked defense in terms of efficiency in all of college basketball. The Tigers ranked 32nd in college basketball in offensive efficiency, averaging 102.6 points per 100 possessions. Here is where the game gets won or lost. Clemson ranks 233rd in defensive efficiency. They allowed 94.5 points per 100 possessions, but again, keep in mind, Clemson played a very impressive schedule. a very difficult schedule, a schedule that has to be respected, but a schedule that obviously is going to lead to a little bit less impressive numbers when it comes to the averages across the season. Clemson opened as a 1.5-point underdog. It moved to a 2.5 dog with the early action coming out on the Lobos. Now, that has slowed down just a little bit. It slowed down for once it jumped the full point. Vegas has not moved that number again since then. So what are we looking for? I am going to say first and foremost, this game is likely going to see a lot of points. The over-under line looked at 149 on the open. It has jumped all the way to 152 at this point, all right? If you're gambling this game, I don't suggest that you touch that number because I think it's going to land right in that neighborhood. I would have taken it at 149. I don't like it at 152. A lot of that is going to go with PJ Hall, averaging 19 points per game, has scored 18 or more in 4 straight contests, has scored 18 or more in 11 of his last 17. I think PJ Hall is set up for a big day today because New Mexico's strength is not under the glass. New Mexico's strength is not going to be playing inside-out basketball, even on the defensive end of the floor. New Mexico's strength is going to be from the guards and the forwards. PJ Hall should have a very good day. New Mexico is giving up a 49% success rate on 2-point attempts. They are ranked 304th in college basketball on points per play on shots at the rim. Shots inside of 5 feet, New Mexico is 304th in defensive efficiency against them, which means this has got to be a PJ Hall day. This is not a game. Let me repeat. This is not a game where you can see PJ Hall get his first rebound 33 minutes into the game like he did against Boston College. This is a PJ Hall game. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot. You're probably going to hit me with the, yeah, duh, Rob, obviously button when I tell you that the game runs through an All-American caliber player like PJ Hall. But it is especially true in this game. It is especially true in this game because that is the spot that New Mexico is at their weakest. It is interior play. It is defense around the basket that they struggle with. It is offense around the basket that they struggle with. The spot that they make it up is on the glass. The spot that they make it up is rebounding. PJ Hall needs to make sure that they are not allowing New Mexico to own the boards, and PJ Hall needs to dominate in the paint offensively. If they do that, they're going to be good. I'm going to tell you what New Mexico, I think, is going to try to do defensively. I think they are going to try to take the three-pointer away from Clemson. You are going to have to spring Joe Girard III. I need him to be involved. Again, it is still a PJ Hall game, but I need Joe Girard III to be involved in this game. I need him knocking down some shots. I think that New Mexico is probably going to have their toes on the three-point line, playing defense out around the three, and basically saying, hey, look, if PJ Hall is PJ Hall, that's fine. Nobody else is going to be, right? To me, that's a spot where I need PJ Hall to I need PJ Hall to score in the 30s today. I need him in the 30s. I'd love for him to threaten a 40-point game, but I need him in the 30s because they are going to try to take that three away. We will see. The Lobos have been pushed around by every average or better than average big man they have played against so far this year. They have given up 20 points to SDSU's Jaden Ledee. They gave up 20 plus to Utah State's Great Osborne. They gave up 20 points to Air Force's Bo Becker, to Boise State's Amar Stanley. None of these guys are PJ Hall, yet all of them scored 20. That's why I said you're going to have to work to open up the three, and if the three's not there, P.J. Hall will be. New Mexico's going to have to pick where they want to focus their defense. I think it's on the three-point. Because if Gerard gets hot, if the shooters get hot on the outside, then all of a sudden, P.J. Hall's life gets even easier down low. I'm all over this. I have seen P.J. Hall's number at 17.5. I have seen it as high as 20.5. I don't care. I'm taking the over. That is the reason why. Despite the fact that they are moneyline dogs, despite the fact that they are 2.5-point underdogs. And maybe I'm falling for it here. Maybe I'm falling for it. Maybe I'm letting the optimism get the better of me. I like Clemson to outright win this game today. I like it. This is not me blowing smoke. This is not me kissing butt. This is nothing more than a genuine take. The softest spot of the Lobos, the interior, is where Clemson should be at their strongest with P.J. Hall. I expect this game to be a slowed down game compared to what we've seen a lot of out of Clemson games in the ACC. I think Clemson wants to keep this from becoming a track meet. I think they want to keep this an absolute fist fight in the paint. I think they want to keep this a game that it is P.J. Hall versus the world, and I'm going to go ahead and bet that is the case. Give me P.J. Hall and his over point total, and give me Clemson as a money line outright winner in this game. That's 2 hours in the books. It's halftime. The dancing girls in the marching band said to come out quick. Grab a Gatorade and an orange slice, because when we come back in hour 3, we get away from basketball. We got to get into this Ohtani story. We got to get into some baseball. We are now less than a week away until opening day. We got to get some NFL football. Brandon Fricke, captain of the Greenville Triumph, joins us in less than an hour. Diesel and Cole Bryson join us at 9. Let's get it. The Rob Brown Show continues after the Sports Flash. It is one and done for the South Carolina Gamecocks men's basketball team. They fall to the number 11 Oregon Ducks yesterday, 87-73. Former Gamecock turned Duck Jermaine Cousinard became just the 4th Pac-12 player in history with a 40-point game in the tournament. Michi Johnson led all Gamecocks with 24. Talon Cooper had 15. BJ Mack had 13. The Gamecocks shot over 44% from the floor and 46% from deep, but were out-rebounded and had dramatically more turnovers than the Oregon Ducks in the loss. The U.S. men's national team knocked off Jamaica 3-1 in a CONCACAF Nations League game last night, but they waited until the dying minutes to make it exciting. The U.S. gave up a shocking goal just 30 seconds into the match and played from behind for most of it. 95 minutes later, 5 minutes into a 6-minute stoppage period, Jamaica scored its own goal to level it at 1-1 and send it to extra time. Haji Wright then scored not once but twice, both off of Gio Reyna assist. And the Shohei Ohtani story grew more interesting yesterday. After the announcement that Ohtani's interpreter was fired, representatives requested police look into allegations of massive theft related to the $4.5 million paid to an illegal gambling outfit. We'll give you more details on that story when we come back. The Rob Brown Show continues on the Fan Upstate.
Now, CBS.
You guys want to see my dog? Oh, hang on. Got a wire over here. There's the Brocave bar, and there's the Remy dog, and my dirty laundry. Please ignore that. That's the dog. Remy dog, what are you doing? Are you a good girl? Do you wanna? There's my dog. See, this is why we broadcast from home. You get intimate looks into the reflections of the life of one Rob Brown. All right. You guys, I'm going to take a 1-minute break. When I come back, I will answer all the questions in the chat. So please. All right, thanks for hanging in there, guys. Let's go back and answer some of these questions, shall we? What is your Final Four then, Rob, and who is your national champion? I'm not going to lie. I went against the chalk in this one. My Final Four from the left side of the bracket, I've got the 4-seed Auburn taking on the 2-seed Arizona. Over on the right side of the bracket, I've got the 4-seed Duke taking on the 1-seed Purdue. I've got Duke beating Purdue. I don't think Purdue is as good as everybody's made them out to be. And if there is a team out there that is going to negate Zach Edey getting calls, it's the Duke Blue Devils, right? If you are concerned about the officials playing a role in a game, Duke's the team you bet on. So I've got Auburn knocking off Arizona. I've got Duke beating Purdue, and I'm taking the Auburn Tigers as my national champions this year. Got a couple of you guys that asked if JT Toppin is related to Obi Toppin. They are. Yes, that is Obi Toppin's brother. That is correct. Let's see. How many D1 NCAA basketball teams are there? There are 351 eligible D1 college basketball programs. 351 is your answer on that one. That's a healthy number. That's why a lot of people want to expand the tournament. They're going, all right, 351. How can we not add, right? How can we not throw more up there? Let's see what else we got in the chat. Clemson will have to win the offensive rebounding matchup if they want to win. PJ Holman and Shefflin have got to dominate the boards. Yep, that's it. I 100% agree. Can we briefly discuss how Sanford got robbed on that late chase down block that got called a foul down one? Yes, we can, Wesley. In fact, I already did back in the first hour of the show. Yes, Sanford got screwed on that. Sanford absolutely had a clean block. They would have had the ball back down one with 14 seconds, which is plenty of time to run and execute an offense for a single bucket. You would have had the opportunity there for a buzzer beater upset. That was a weak ass foul call. I could not agree more. Yes, I do have.
Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real.
Yeah, that was rough.
Manufactured
Here we
locally
go.
for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our numero tres of the Rob Brown Show is underway. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that ends in 2 hours, as a matter of fact, if you're keeping track, but a busy 2 hours we have got lined up for you. At the end of this hour of the show, we are going to be joined by Brendan Fricke. He is a captain for Your My Hour Greenville Triumph. We'll talk with Brandon Fricke about their win over in Columbia on Wednesday. Moving on to round 2 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Championship. We'll talk to him about this Saturday as the Triumph return home for a Saturday night matchup against rivals Forward Madison. Stay tuned for that interview at the end of this hour. Then at the 9 o'clock hour, we will be joined by the host of the brand new show starting on Monday, Wire to Wire, with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Diesel and CB going to join us right here on the Rob Brown Show. We'll talk a little bit about that new show that they are starting on Monday. We'll talk a little bit about the future of the show and the station. And, of course, we'll talk some sports because it is a sports talk radio show. Diesel and Cole will be joining us at 9 a.m. to talk about their new show, Wire to Wire. Really looking forward to that conversation. Let's get into this Shohei Ohtani story for just a minute, shall we? It's very interesting. I'm going to sit back in the chair to chat about this one because the tea is good, as the kids are saying. So, we found out yesterday that Shohei Ohtani, well, I guess 2 nights ago, technically, that Shohei Ohtani's longtime interpreter, a man who had been accompanying him around the world throughout his career, dating back to 2011, those guys got hooked up, gets fired, and he gets fired because and only because $4.5 million had been transferred out of Shohei Ohtani's bank accounts via wire transfers to an illegal gambling outfit. 4.5 mil. Now, this is where the story starts to get very fun, interesting, entertaining, controversial, conspiratorial, whatever you want to call it. The story goes sideways because in an interview that Shohei's interpreter gave a day before the firing was announced, he said that Shohei Ohtani knew about the $4.5 million. Not only knew about the $4.5 million, but orchestrated the $4.5 million transfer of funds. Shohei's interpreter said that he had gotten into that much gambling debt to the tune of $4.5 million. And he said that Shohei, my buddy, my pal, my amigo, my compatriot, my colleague, my friend, Shohei was disappointed. He was mad. He was upset. He was disappointed. But at the end of the day, he wanted to get me out of this situation. And so he agreed to pay off my gambling debt with the promise that I would, not gamble anymore. Well, it turned out that those payments were illegal. And then, wouldn't you know it, all of the sudden, Shohei Ohtani, he suddenly had no idea what was going on. In fact, he had no idea what was going on that the interpreter changed his story. All of a sudden, the story was that Shohei Ohtani did not know about the $4.5 million. It initially was he made the wire himself. Now it's he didn't know about the wire at all. Then yesterday, the news broke that Shohei Ohtani and his representatives had reached out to law enforcement and were asking law enforcement to open up an investigation into charges of grand theft, effectively saying that $4.5 million was stolen from Shohei Ohtani. There's a couple of things that set off some bells and whistles for me, to be quite honest with you. There's a couple of things that set off some bells and whistles for me. The first, obviously, and I think this is probably true for everybody who's not an idiot. It is the fact that this story not only got changed, but it got changed at the source. And it got changed at the source not while there was like an ongoing investigation into it. It happens all the time that somebody tells the story, somebody spills the tea, so to speak, about a story like this. And then after that story gets spilled and an investigation gets launched, then all of the sudden the perpetrator in question suddenly remembers some details that he may or may not have forgotten to mention during the first round of interviews. I don't know how many of y'all have seen the show The First 48. The First 48 is a murder mystery reality detective. I don't know how to put it. Long story short, the show claims that after a murder takes place, that investigators have 48 hours to solve the crime, and after 48 hours, the chances that the crime gets solved drop off dramatically, like to the exponential percentage chance. And so the investigators basically don't sleep. They go all in for 48 hours to try to figure it out before they get there. So, one of the things that happens in this show, because I will acknowledge that, unfortunately, your boy is, as the kids say, basic. In fact, I was called not too long ago by a teenage niece of mine, quote, basic AF, Rob, which is true and fine. My feelings are perfectly fine. Don't worry about it, Ashley. I feel great. Anyway, I love true crime documentaries, and I recently started going back and catching up on episodes of The First 48. I enjoy the show, okay? And a lot of the episodes were filmed in neighborhoods down around where I grew up, which should not make me more entertained, but again, basic, it does, all right? So, one of my favorite things is the interrogation process that happens during that first 48 hours. And very frequently what will happen is they'll find somebody that can be loosely placed at the scene of the crime. They'll find somebody who was spotted by a witness or somebody whose phone GPS tagged them as being nearby or whatever the case might be. And they bring that person in and they say, hey, tell us what happened. And that person goes, oh, I met him for a burger. We were just going to go have a chat. We were just meeting up. It was just a little meet and greet. And then the next day, investigators go and they find surveillance footage taken by a camera attached to the fast food joint across the street. And it shows this person hanging out on that corner for 3 or 4 hours before the victim gets there. And then they call that guy back in and they go, hey, you told us that it was just a little bit of a meet and greet, but now we have video footage. You were actually there for like 3 hours before. What's up with that? And now the person suddenly goes, oh, well, I was there. I forgot. I was there, but I was just getting a burger. And then the footage comes out later of them putting on a hood or pulling up a hoodie or whatever. And then they got more details. That's kind of how the game gets played, right? But ordinarily, more information, more facts about the case aren't delivered until there's an investigation going on. And the investigators come forward and say, well, actually, during the course of our investigation, we found this, and then the person suddenly remembers more details. And that would be one thing. Except for there's no investigation going on right now. Law enforcement was tipped off, but they were not asked to step in and do anything until yesterday. And the announcement that the interpreter had changed his story came out before that, at least according to the timeline that I saw yesterday. So that means that said interpreter either knew there was an investigation coming and was trying to jump out ahead of this whole thing, or there's something else at play here. Now, as I've said a couple of times, I do not particularly care if Shohei Ohtani or anyone else is gambling. I do not care that you are gambling until you ruin your life gambling, which is why I say if you have an addictive personality and you can't not gamble, then don't gamble. Don't even start, all right? But if you're able to do like I do and you throw a couple $100 a month at bets, and if you lose it, no harm, no foul. It was just my play money because I don't go to the movies anymore. Then fine, have at it. I don't care if Shohei Ohtani was gambling. I care if and only if he was gambling on baseball. That's it. I only care if he was gambling on baseball. So I'm fine with the investigation to find out, A, was Shohei Ohtani actually gambling? And he is setting his boy up to be the fall guy. Why would he do that, Rob? You might ask. And I might answer, there's one very good reason. If this is the case, and this guy takes the fall for Shohei Ohtani, he would be in jail for a couple of years. Probably not much longer than a couple of years, because while it is $4.5 million, I don't think that the illegal gambling is going to stick old boy in prison for decades. Shohei Ohtani, you will recall, deferred like 90 some odd % of his salary from the LA Dodgers to a later date, meaning that Shohei is only getting a couple of $1 million over the next couple of years. But in a decade, when he's done playing, Shohei Ohtani is then going to be owed like $1 billion from the LA Dodgers. If you're the fall guy and Shohei comes to an arrangement with you, hey man, if I go to jail, I can't make $1 billion. If you go to jail, I can make $1 billion. So hey, if you to go to jail for me, I will pay you $250 million. Right? I will pay you $250 million or a tenth of a bill or whatever the number they agree on might be. It would make perfect sense that this guy would be willing to take a 9-10 figure paycheck to be the fall guy for Shohei Ohtani, so that Shohei can keep playing baseball, keep making them millions of dollars, and then pay him down the line for his quote unquote services. That's interesting. As Nolan just said in the stream chat a minute ago, 2 years in jail for a couple of milli sounds good to me. Yeah, a lot of people. I will tell you, the 4 years that I have lived here in the upstate of South Carolina have absolutely flown by. I'll tell you right now, there's some people in my life that would hate it. Brandon, I would give up 2 years in jail for $50 million. I'd absolutely do it.
Not.
I absolutely would. The rest of my life on $50 million is set, catered, paid for. I'd never work another day. I would consider it 2 years of work for $50 million. Yes, I would do that. I would do that today. Not a question.
With regards to this whole thing going on, personally, I feel that the first story with the interpreter, I believe that's the actual story. I believe because it's so in depth and detail that, I mean, only the interpreter and only Ohtani know what exactly happened. And I also think maybe Ohtani is partially to blame for the gambling as well. Now, I'm with you. I don't care about him gambling. However, if it is on baseball, you got to worry because, didn't Pete Rose bet on baseball and now look at him?
So that brings me to something else that I am very intrigued by. The something else that I'm very intrigued by is the fact that Rob Manfred has not yet launched an investigation into this, okay? If this was anybody else, if this was Gavin Lux, if this was Andrew McCutcheon, if this was Cody Bellinger, pick your poison. If this was anybody else, I truly, genuinely believe Rob Manfred would have already launched a whole ass investigation into it. They would have been doing everything in their power to talk to federal authorities. They'd have been doing everything in their power to talk to local law enforcement authorities. They'd have been doing everything in their power to talk to everybody they could to see if they could connect Shohei Ohtani to gambling on baseball. Without a doubt, they would be trying to connect that because they absolutely want to know, was Shohei gambling on the game? Was he breaking the rules that, as you just pointed out, are they breaking the rules that we have quite literally locked other people out of the league forever for violating? And if the answer is yes, they'd have to go get this guy. But it's Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani at a point in time where I very firmly believe Major League Baseball is looking at international expansion, right? I got asked on BetMGM tonight last night, why are we playing games in Korea 2 weeks before the regular, or a week before the regular season starts for the other 28 teams across baseball? And my answer was, because I think, much like the NBA has already announced they are doing, much like the NFL has been doing, taking the NFL regular season games to Europe the last few years, I believe Major League Baseball is looking at international expansion. Maybe not directly, like the NBA is looking at propping up a standalone league in Europe in order to find and develop the best European talent. I wouldn't be shocked if baseball's doing the same thing. And considering the massive influence over the last couple of years of Asian baseball, it would make sense that Asia might be the first continent that they decide to try this out in. So why not send maybe the most well-known Asian athlete on the face of the planet, Shohei Ohtani, to Asia just to see what the reaction is, right? If baseball is looking at expanding internationally, the biggest asset they have is Shohei Ohtani. You can send Shohei Ohtani anywhere in Asia, and he could go grab a mic and fart into it, and it would sell out a baseball stadium. All right? It just is what it is. So my thought is, or my conspiracy theory brain has kicked in and said, all right, when you are setting down guys for a career, for gambling on the game, and here's a cat who clearly has the money, here's a cat that even if indirectly is connected to an illegal gambling outlet, you launch, if you're Rob Manfred, an immediate investigation. Immediate. I'm going directly to Shohei, directly to the translator. I want the records from the feds. I want everything I can get my stupid hands on so that I can look, and if I find one amount of evidence, one instance of evidence that Shohei Ohtani was betting on baseball, you got to go all in on the cat. The problem is Shohei Ohtani is worth well over $1 billion to Major League Baseball. He's a walking billion-dollar check to them. Nobody else in Major League Baseball is that valuable. Not Aaron Judge, not Ronald Acuna Jr., not Mookie Betts, not Adley Rutschman. No one else in baseball is worth as much to MLB as Shohei Ohtani. So I think it's fair now at this point, and you guys know I try to avoid conspiracies to the best of my ability. I think it is very fair at this point to ask if Rob Manfred is trying to protect Shohei Ohtani here. Are you not launching a full-scale investigation when you yourself have said for years that this is something that cannot be tolerated in Major League Baseball? Are you yourself avoiding Shohei in order to protect Shohei? Because if the answer to that is yes, all of a sudden it is one more instance, much like John Fisher, where Major League Baseball is saying the quiet part out loud. Money is more important than ethics. And that would be I was going to say it would be a very sad revelation. It's not a revelation to any of us. It's kind of one of those things that we all know it's happening. We all accept it's happening, and we all just don't want to talk about it. That's kind of how it feels to me. We will talk more about that later on, but we got to run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, got a few more things I want to run through. Brendan Fricke from the Greenville Triumph is going to join us in the final segment of this hour of the radio broadcast. We got Diesel and Cole joining us on the stream coming up at 9 a.m. to talk about their new show, Wire to Wire. It's going to be busy. Y'all stick around. The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. Thank you, Wesley, breaking out the modern day Peaky Blinders look. Wink, wink.
Hey, Rob, the first 48 is filmed. Majority in Atlanta that they film it is by my wife's old job in downtown Atlanta, and so she actually got to see them film that show.
They did one a number of years ago, but they did one in New Orleans a handful of years ago on the same street that one of my cousins lives on.
Oh, wow.
Like 3 houses down. Like you could see her house in the episode multiple times.
I had a old player I coached at Avondale High School football, and they featured his story on there. He was murdered. He was shot 50 times at his house.
Well, that's tragic.
Yeah, it was sad.
All right, guys, we're going to step away for just a minute. Y'all stay right there. We will be right back. All right, y'all, we are back. Thanks for hanging out. Clemson is in my Final Four. Hashtag Homer.
Hiring today. Robert Half is here to help. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Sponsored by ChumbaCasino.com. Play social games online for free. Head to ChumbaCasino.com now to join the Chumba.
All right, coming back.
Experience the thrill of the Chumba life. Plus.
Rise and shine, sports fans. Grab your coffee and a jolt of sports on the Rob Brown Show.
Puts me in my zone. It gets me ready for the day.
On the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and Brandon here with you. Alonzo rejoins the show coming up on Monday. Let's get to this story real quick. This is pretty interesting. We talked a little bit a couple of weeks ago about the allegations of tampering filed against the Atlanta Falcons for the deal that led up to the signing of their new QB1, Kirk Cousins, away from Minnesota. Yesterday, Mike Florio made it a little bit more interesting. Sports analyst for and NBA insider, and NBC Sports Insider. Florio's not that busy. Mike Florio has questioned the legitimacy of the Atlanta Falcons acquisition of Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins during the NFL free agency. His suspicions have nothing to do with the contract or the deal or the actual signing. Florio said, quote, "This is the most blatant case of tampering I've ever seen," end quote. Direct quote from Mike Florio. He was on a podcast the other day when he brought that up on the What the Football with Amy Trask and Susie Schuster podcast. He said, quote, "The Falcons' pursuit of Kirk Cousins, to me, doing this 23 years, it's the most blatant case of tampering I've ever seen. Where Kirk Cousins at his introductory press conference admits he spoke to and possibly met with, he might have blurted out that he met with the team's head athletic trainer during the 52-hour negotiating window where you're not supposed to talk to the player at all." We played that audio for you. We talked about it last week when it happened. Kirk Cousins said the day after the tampering period that he had already had a conversation with some wonderful people inside of the organization, including the head athletic trainer, and that set off a lot of bells for a lot of people because it was during a period of time where Kirk Cousins was not permitted to talk to anybody. Florio went on to say that there was, quote, tampering within tampering, as Atlanta Falcons director of player personnel Ryan Pace brought in wide receiver Darnell Mooney to Atlanta as well during that non-tampering period. Florio went on to say he talked to Ryan Pace, the director of player personnel, presumably during the 52-hour window, and someone enlisted him to recruit Darnell Mooney from the Bears. So you've got tampering within tampering. You've got multiple levels of tampering, and he just talks, and he talked about it openly like they just didn't care. It was so blatant, and he said Kyle Pitts was recruiting him weeks in advance. If he did that at the behest of the team or with the knowledge of the team, that's another tampering violation. So this is interesting because if tampering charges are brought and proven against the Atlanta Falcons, which I suspect the NFL will indeed investigate at some point, I would be interested to see what type of punishment might be brought down. If they would undo the contract of Kirk Cousins and forbid him from signing there, I genuinely don't know how harsh the NFL would get. I don't know if it would be a gigantic fine, a salary cap reduction, a loss of draft picks. What I do know is at a point in time where the Atlanta Falcons are the odds-on favorites to win this division next year, and if they're not, I'm going to throw a lot of money at them for it because I think they are and they should be. But at a point in time where the Falcons are in a very good spot to raise themselves out of perennial mediocrity and actually win a division, even if it's only because the division is ass around the other three teams, and it is. This would be a real bad time for the Falcons to get caught violating the tampering restrictions and take any type of punishment. You need all the draft picks you can get to build around Kirk Cousins because the window is open now and not for very long. You need all that you can get right now in terms of salary cap money so that you can sign weapons to help out with Kirk Cousins, because there are a lot of folks who believe the Falcons are close but still need a few more pieces. You need everything you can get if you're going to make a run, because your window is probably 1 year, 2 year at most. Brandon, noted Atlanta Falcons fan. Brandon, what's your thoughts on this?
See, I'm kind of torn about it. I'm a huge Falcons fan, as you know. And if tampering has happened, I can see a significant fine coming down. I think there was a team that recently was caught tampering, and they got like $1 million fine or more. And then they lost a 5th or 6th round pick, which I could see happening for Atlanta. I mean, even the Calvin Ridley debacle that happened, how he now signs with Tennessee, Atlanta gets a 3rd round draft pick. I could see Atlanta losing that 3rd round draft pick and being fined $1, maybe $2 million because of the tampering. Now, do I think that it's tampering instead of tampering if Kyle Pitts has talked? No, because every player talks. They all talk. We have no idea what they talk about. So I don't think that should be counted against Atlanta. But if they did, in fact, talk to Kirk Cousins and the NFL finds it out, I would not be putting it past them if they got a $1 or $2 million fine and lose a 3rd or maybe even a 5th round pick.
So here is what we've got. Here are some of the most recent tampering accusations and punishments from the last couple of years. In 2023, Philadelphia accused the Arizona Cardinals of tampering with defensive coordinator John Gannon, whom the Cardinals ultimately hired as their head coach. The two sides eventually agreed to a settlement in which the Eagles traded the number 94 pick in the 2023 draft and a 2024 5th round selection for the number 66 pick in 2023. In 2016, the Kansas City Chiefs were found to have tampered with Eagles free agent wide receiver Jeremy Maclin during the previous offseason. Philadelphia did not receive compensation for the Chiefs, but the Chiefs were docked 3rd and 6th round picks and fined $250,000. Andy Reid fined $75,000, and GM John Dorsey was fined $25,000. Back in 2002, maybe the most notable NFL tampering case so far. In 2022, the league punished the Miami Dolphins for trying to lure then New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady and then New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton down to South Beach. The Dolphins were docked a 1st round pick in 2023 and a 4th round pick of 2024. Stephen Ross was suspended and fined $1.5 million, while Dolphins executive Bruce Beal was fined $500,000 and was ultimately banned from the NFL for it. So this is absolutely something that has happened. It's absolutely something that the NFL takes very seriously. And it is something that, if it turns out that the Falcons did indeed have improper conversations with Kirk Cousins before signing him, the Falcons could end up being obligated to either send picks to Minnesota as compensation for that tampering, or just lose picks in general at a point in time where, like I said, the window's open, but the window is open for 1 year. It's open for 1 year and 1 year only, and that's a big problem. All right, we'll see how it plays out. We'll talk more about it later on. Let's take a break. When we come back here in a minute, Brandon Fricke is the captain of our Greenville Triumph. Brandon Fricke joins the show to talk about the Triumph's road win this past Wednesday night in Columbia. Talk about the upcoming match against Ford Madison. talk about new coach Rick Wright and the success the team is having out of the gate underneath Coach Wright. We'll talk about all that with Brandon Fricke when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
This is WWE Intercontinental Champion, the Ring General Gunther, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
All right, guys, we're going to step away for just a minute while we get Brandon Fricke lined up. Y'all stay right there. We will be right back.
Groceries. That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cashback on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Do you like asparagus and mushroom sorbet? I've got leftovers.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cashback. It pays to Discover. Eligibility in terms of discover.com/cashback debit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Get the one and done you want for your dog's monthly protection. NexGuard Plus, a Foxalon or Moxidectin and Pyrantel chewable tablet, protects against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in one delicious beef-flavored soft chew. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to
1 minute.
Ask your pet about NexGuard Plus chews.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Heard the catchphrase?
I respect that, Wesley. That's a fan move. I like that.
People are saying
Skipping golf. I dig it.
Jackson Hewitt because they love saving money on tax prep. Do you love saving money? Then switch to Jackson Hewitt today and pay less than last year. Thousands of
15 seconds.
Hey, if he says that there's an echo in his phone,
Mm-hmm.
what you'll have to do is whenever he's answering a question, take it out of utility.
Uh-huh. Okay.
No, that won't work because he just won't be able to hear it on the stream. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
We're back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, Brandon filling in for the great one, Lonzo. He will return to us on Monday. Now we go to the phone lines. We welcome in the man who wears the armband for Your My Our Greenville Triumph. He is Brandon Fricke joining us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Brandon, what's up, big fella?
Morning, Rob. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me
I'm
on.
living the dream, buddy. I'm doing real good. I don't know that I'm doing as good as you guys. 2-0 after a win at home to open it after a win on the road in the U.S. Open Cup. How the boys feeling going 2-0 out of the gate, pal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's great just to have a good start like that. Get the first couple wins under your belt. It gives you a boost and really helps with all the work we put in. It kind of shows the reward for that. So it's great. We're not naive though. We know we still have a lot of work to do. But it definitely gives you a little added motivation to keep doing it because if you do the work, you're going to get a result. So we're going to keep working and hopefully keep getting some wins.
I love that. We had Rick Wright on the show last week, Brandon, and I love the theme we have had between our talk with Sebastian Velasquez, our talk with Coach Wright, our talk with you now. Every one of you guys has leaned on work and effort and continuing to just grind and get the fundamentals down and do everything right. Has that kind of become like a motto, like an anthem for this Triumph team this year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, everyone knows we have a bit of new faces, starting a new season. And, it's important that everyone's bought in, if we're going to go in the right direction. And the best way to buy in is to do the work. And that's kind of something that we emphasize, from some of the older guys and Coach Wright is if everyone buys in and does the work, the results will come. We have a good staff around us and a lot of good players. So, we kind of said, you got to do, the work and the results will come then. So, I think it's really good to see that the guys have bought in thus far. And like I said, once you start to see good results from that, it kind of leads on to itself. So it's something we hope to keep building on and, see some good results as we go.
We're talking with Brandon Fricke of the Greenville Triumph. Talk to me a little bit about that. You mentioned new faces. Obviously, those have been following this team for years. Recognize there are still the Tyler Pollocks on this team, but there are the Sebastian Velasquez's and the new guys, the younger guys specifically that have showed up. Guys like Mohamed Say that we're waiting to see kind of how they fit into the role. For you, for a veteran, for a guy who's been around for a couple of years, what is your role in trying to bridge the gap between the old guard of the Triumph while you get the new guys up to speed on what it means to be a member of this club?
Yeah, obviously it's crucial for those of us that have been around and been a part of, the early success of this club to bring all the positives and good stuff from those first years that we were so successful. It's really important that we lean on that and the experience we had then with Coach Harks and whatnot and kind of bringing that and then blending in some new flavor. Obviously, some of these younger players or new faces, they have played with good clubs or they've played with good colleges, and they have, some experiences that we need to lend into too. So like you said, it's kind of blending them together in that we want to bring a lot of the good that we've had in the past, but also bring in some of this new that, can bring some new ideas, some fresh flavor, and just try and mold the two. So it's a bit of a experimentation process, you could say. It's just bringing some of the old and some with the new, and it's a process at the end of the day. But so far it's been, it's exciting, and day to day it's nice to, like I said, have some fresh faces and some new ideas around, and stuff we can build on as a unit. And I think a lot of those new guys, especially the guys that had played pro and seen the success of this club, they came here for a reason, and they want to continue to build on that success, and reignite some of the fire that we've had, and we're gonna expect them to do that. So as a unit, blending those two things together, I think, only makes us better.
We are talking with Brandon Fricke of the Greenville Triumph. Brandon, let's catch up on this year. Let's go back to the opening match at home against Spokane, a game where I think Spokane gifted a questionable PK to put you guys down in a 1-0 hole. I asked Rick Wright about this, and he said that the attitude in the locker room was guys with heads up. It was guys saying we're better than they are. It was guys challenging each other to up the level of competition to make sure that they were good, that y'all were good in the second half. Talk to me a little bit about what you remember going into that halftime, down a goal, going down into the opening match of Rick Wright's era, down a goal. Can you talk to us a little bit about if you felt the same way as Rick Wright said the club did?
Yeah, I think 100%. It's never, like you said, it's not the ideal start, right? You come out, you're at home, the new era, you want it to go right, and the first thing that happens is you kind of get punched in the face. And I think in reality, that's also a really good thing, and it helped test our team and test if we really were about what we've been talking about, and that we're going to keep going no matter what. We're going to trust the process. Despite the result, we're gonna keep playing and working and doing what we've been doing, and that if we do that, we trust that the results will come. And I think, it was an early time.
Brandon, did we lose him, or did I
We just need to keep playing.
No, he's there.
Brandon, keep going. We had a disconnect. Keep going, bud.
Good. No, I was just saying that, I think it was a good test for sure. I think, it was an early test, and it was something that, we had talked about, is that despite how games and results are going at times, we need to trust in kind of the process and how we play and how we work together as a unit. And I think, that was a testament to that, and that it was early, it was at home, and, it's not the perfect start, right? But we had to sit down and say, we got to keep going. And luckily we responded really well in the first half and got the goal back and made it even. And then from there, I think that kind of showed us, okay, everything's fine. We just need to keep doing our thing, and we'll be all right. And then obviously the second half, we were able to get a couple more goals and come away with the win. So, in hindsight, it's not obviously the way you want to start, but it's a good show of adversity, and how can this group react to it? Because you never know sometimes with a new group, despite all the things you talk about and work on. And so I think it was a really good test, and I think we're all kind of glad that it happened early, because I think it gives us a little bit of confidence that if we get in that situation again, we're going to be all right. We just need to keep doing what we do.
Brandon Fricke from the Greenville Triumph here on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. Brandon, obviously you were around for the John Harkes era, carry forward into Rick Wright. Obviously, I assume beneficial that Rick was around to see what John Harkes was doing to make sure this team is a perennial contender in the playoffs. But obviously, taking over the reins as the gaffer, he's going to have his own ideas, his own thoughts. Can you talk to me a little bit about where Rick Wright and John Harkes are similar coaches, and what some of the differences are that fans that are outside of the dressing room may or may not notice?
Yeah, I think one of the things you touched on early was just kind of the work ethic, and that in the end, the bare minimum is that we're going to be one of the hardest working groups in the league. And I think that's something that both John and Rick both share, is that's the bare minimum, right? Is you have to work, you have to put in the effort in order to get results. And they both preach that daily, as you mentioned before. Difference wise, it's not, there's obviously some little tactical things that they both kind of prefer different, that comes down to each person. But, all in all, Rick's he's been around the game a lot and has experiences. So he kind of leaves it to us to do things. And then he kind of then chimes in when he sees things that he wants done differently or corrected. So it's a free flowing experience. And, I think some of the guys have enjoyed that, and a little more experimentation and trying to get things right. And then obviously if he sees things, he steps in and kind of says, his piece and where he'd like it to be. So all in all, it's all based on kind of, like we said, the work ethic and the effort, and then, some little tweaks here and there. And I think Rick's also built a really good staff around him that have helped and kept on some people, and then brought in some new faces with some fresh ideas as well. And we're trying to, eat up that information and make it useful to the group so that we can keep moving forward.
Brandon Fricke from the Greenville Triumph talking to us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Got a couple more minutes here, Brandon. That U.S. Open Cup game over in Columbia, I want to ask about that, and then we'll shift ahead to Forward Madison this Saturday night at Paladin Stadium. How important is that tournament to you guys? Because I know that, there's obviously, with every level being involved, it is something that fans put a lot of emphasis on. At the same time, I know that with these matches falling in the middle of the schedule, you got to play Wednesday, turn around and play a home game that counts on the USL League One table on Saturday. I also noticed it was a starting 11, and you boys went out there to play like it was a game that you wanted to win. What is the view of the club on the importance of playing well in that tournament?
Yeah, I think, first of all, for me personally, it's a very, I love the tournament. I think I've played at the semi-professional and amateur ranks in the tournament and gotten to play professional clubs, and I've seen what it's all about. So, it holds a special place for me, and I think it's a tournament that gives a lot of players and clubs opportunities to showcase what they're about and earn opportunities higher. So I think it's a very, very cool and fun tournament to be involved in. And as a club, I think our approach is always to win every game. And, at the end of the day, we trust all the players to do that. You mentioned, some schedule congestion. At the end of the day, this was only our second game of the year. So, Rick was, kind of on the page that we still had a lot to work on and continue building fitness. As hopefully we continue to advance, it's up to the players to be available and be fit. And then obviously that comes down to Rick and, the fitness staff to determine how we utilize individual guys. But, our goal as a club is to win every game, right? No matter who we put out there, and trust that guys are going to do the job. So, moving forward, how we approach it, we'll see. But, that first game obviously we need to come out and continue to build on what we did the weekend prior and, continue to work on things. And, to be fair, we knew it was going to be a tough game. They always are. You're going away, you're going to a team that has a lot to prove, new environment. And that's what it was. They made it difficult for us. But it was a really fun game. It was very open cup, type environment. And I really enjoyed it. And I think a lot of the guys did too. It was a grind. It was a battle. And we were happy to get out of there with a win.
For the record, Brendan Fricke, when old boy took down and then stepped over Sebastian on the sideline, I thought I was about to watch you and Leo end a man's career on television, bud. How close did you come?
Obviously it was a heat of the moment, right? The tackle I actually thought was a pretty fair. It was a firm tackle. It comes down to, like I said, they were trying to kind of, do what they could to manipulate the game, you could say, and get us out of our comfort zone. I think as teammates, we didn't really appreciate the whole standing over him bit, and that's where we got a bit fired up and felt we wanted to come in and defend Sebastian a little bit, and show him that we had his back at the end of the day. And then it's obviously just a bit of a scuffle from there, and a few guys acting like they're tough guys, but it's all part of the game. It's fun, just trying to defend our teammates and let them know we got their back, especially our skillful players that are gonna end up getting kicked here and there during the season. It's always good to show them that they got the support of their teammates.
Brandon Fricke from the Greenville Triumph. You guys at home this Saturday night taking on Forward Madison. Game number 2 on the USL League draw. How important is it for you guys to carry that momentum forward and make sure that you start 2-0 in this league?
Yeah, it's really important. Obviously, also being at home, we felt last year, we've discussed this as a group, that at home we weren't as strong as we could be. So we're trying to come in with a more conscious mentality this year that, we want to make our home field a more difficult place to play at for opposing teams. So, both at the start of the year and trying to get off to a good start, and then trying to establish, kind of that home field defense is really important for us. So we want to keep going. I think it's going to be a very tough game. Madison are a good squad. They've made some really strong additions this year. And it's going to be a fun game, though. It's going to be a test for both teams, and we look forward to it from that aspect.
Brandon Fricke, your Greenville Triumph. They are again at home this Saturday night against Forward Madison at Paladin Stadium on the lovely campus of Furman University. You can get your tickets right now at greenvilletriumph.com. More importantly, come meet us at the tailgate and shotgun some beers before the game. Not you, Brandon. You're busy. Don't come shotgun beers with us. You go win a game. But everybody else come do it. Brandon, great to have you back on the show, bud. I appreciate it. Great to talk to you, man. Good luck Saturday night, pal.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Rob. Have a good one, man.
Anytime, always. Brandon Fricke, one of my favorites to talk to from Your My Hour, Greenville Triumph. When we come back here, in just mere moments from now, we are going to be joined by not one, but 2 different legends, the brand new host of our brand new show, Wire to Wire, with, say whichever name you want to say first, Diesel and Cole, Cole and Diesel. We'll talk to both of them when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. The Shohei Ohtani story grew more interesting yesterday after the announcement that Ohtani's interpreter was fired. Ohtani's representatives requested police look into allegations of massive theft related to the $4.5 million paid to an illegal gambling outfit. That comes after Ohtani's interpreter initially said Shohei knew about the payment, but then changed his story later, saying he did not. It's one and done for the Gamecocks of South Carolina on the men's hardwood as they fall to number 11 Oregon yesterday, 87-73. Former Gamecock turned Duck Jermaine Cousinard became just the 4th Pac-12 player in history with a 40-point game in the tournament. Michi Johnson led all Gamecocks with 24. Talon Cooper had 15. BJ Mack had 13. The Gamecocks shot 44% from the floor, 46% from deep, but were out-rebounded and had more turnovers than Oregon. And the U.S. men's national team knocked off Jamaica 3-1 in a CONCACAF Nations League game last night. Waited after giving up a 30-second goal until the stoppage time period to equalize. Got 2 in the extra time for the win, both scored by Haji Wright. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
You're clear.
All right, guys, we're going to step away for just a minute. We're going to get Diesel and Cole lined up. We'll come back and fun and shenanigans will abound. Stay right there. Ladies and gentlemen, the illustrious Cole Bryson with us. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, not a cloud in the sky. What Mike could use is a fresh start. And
Cole, we will allow you to talk if you want to say hi to people.
Irish Spring and those.
Oh, it said my internet stream was bad. Can you hear me?
Well, I can tell that you like what bunker are you in right now, pal?
So I'm in the Omni. I'm trying to find a place to be quiet, but this place is too frou-frou for me. I've already been looked at and judged this morning. You want to know why?
Look at the humble brag from Cole. Oh, I'm in the Omni. I can't find. Walking around shoeless like a freaking bum. What are we doing, Cole?
Hey, speaking of bum, Louisville is the biggest dump of a city in the world. Oh, let me say that quiet.
I don't know, man. I'll put Jacksonville up against Louisville any day of the week.
This place is a dump, man.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
I mean, it's terrible.
A data entry
What is wrong with Louisville, Kentucky?
How you say it?
Louisville.
People fast. I need Indeed. Indeed, you do.
This might be the worst segment of radio ever. Me trying to find a place where people aren't hearing me.
Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first.
I'm gonna go in this ballroom.
Supply.
There it is.
30 seconds.
This could
And
be
the
good.
bearded one who comes headsetted and microphoned like a
What up, Diesel?
professional.
I
Diesel.
just swore you said we're doing this at 9:50.
No,
Can you
man,
get a
check
bigger
it.
microphone, Diesel?
10
Let's go
seconds.
right here.
That's perfect.
Can you get a bigger mic?
Coming back.
Upstate. WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville. The official sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. CBS Sports Radio. Always live on the Free Odyssey app.
Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
The fourth and final hour of the Rob Brown radio program goes now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is the Fan Upstate. Spectacular, as always, to have you on a Friday. And this next, 5, 10, 15, 20, 60 minutes, who knows, might get a little bit weird. Why? Because starting on Monday, there's a new radio program that is going to air right here on the Fan Upstate every weekday from 3 until 7 p.m. Our colleague, our comrade, our compatriot, Mark Ryan, of course, as you have heard already, moving on and up to Detroit, Michigan, to become a hockey guy. Remember to tell you that story here in just a minute, because I had a conversation with him yesterday that was beyond hilarious, and I'm very excited about it. We are going to be replacing that show with a brand new show. A show that is called Wire to Wire, and you know it is hip, and it's cool, and it's new age, because it's spelled with the number 2 instead of the word, and hosted by a couple of voices you guys have heard many times. Sometimes you've enjoyed it, sometimes you haven't. Cole Bryson and Diesel are here. And Diesel, my apologies, but I'm going to start with Cole, because for some reason, Cole is in Louisville, Kentucky. And when I asked him about it, he went,
Louisville.
No, I don't care how the people in Louisville ask me. It is Louisville. He's
Diesel,
in
make sure you ask him about
Louisville, Kentucky, which he described as a dump of a town just minutes ago. Cole Bryson, what the hell are you doing?
Listen, guys. In the morning, you know how sometimes you just have like these epiphanies, right? What if they made water that had Advil already in it? That way you don't have to take Advil with your water. You ever had one of those mornings where you wake up and need water and Advil the first thing you need?
Yes, but my thing here is I know that Cole Bryson's not a NASCAR fan, Diesel, because he's never heard of BC Powder before.
It's Goody Powder. Thank you very much. Goody
take
powder
your
for the way.
powder.
Like, look, are we going to start a whole new debate on this station instead of Hellman's mayonnaise, which I know that Cole Bryson eats Hellman's mayonnaise, not Duke's mayonnaise.
Hellman's is not real mayo.
But, are we really going to start the Dukes, the BC and the Goody powder debate?
I mean, listen, I'm a NASCAR guy. It's ingrained in me. What do you want, Diesel? It's from birth.
Hey, I'm a wuss. I need the orange flavored powders because they go down so much smoother.
Wait. Let's start with this. We are sitting here arguing about flavored powders when Cole's over here telling us swallowing a Tylenol is too tough.
Yeah,
for him.
what's in that cup? Is that vodka here at 9:10 in the morning, Cole Bryson?
It's water. H2O, Diesel. H2O.
Sad. Hair of the dog, buddy. Hair of the dog. Go for it.
Cole and Diesel moving into the 3 to 7 p.m. slot starting next Monday with their new show, Wire Number 2 Wire, which is, I'm sorry, what I'm going to call it from now on. Hashtag branding. CB, my man, congratulations. Diesel, congratulations. What a move for the boys.
Listen, man, we're excited. Diesel and I have probably worked together. I think he kept count, but I think we've probably worked together maybe a dozen or so times over the past few years, and we've always hit it off. Not to get romantic here on a Friday morning, but we've always hit it off, and we've always had good chemistry. And listen, man, Diesel and I may agree on some things, but there may be more than that we disagree on. So we're excited to continue to bring it each and every weekday. I couldn't be more excited to do the show with Diesel and tell him how wrong he is every day from 3 to 7.
Hey, my wife tells me that every night. She tells me that every morning before she leaves. She comes and gives me a little kiss on the forehead, says, "You're wrong. Have a good day." Why should this be any different? I'm sad that we didn't cue up Careless Whisper there when you were talking about the bromance that's forming on this very show, on this very station, coming up at 3 o'clock every afternoon on the Fan Upstate. This is going to be a blast, man. We are going to go at each other. We're going to go at the Clemson Tigers. We're going to go at the South Carolina Gamecocks. Look, nothing is going to change. The listener around here has come to know and learn that these programs make mistakes, and we have to be willing to call them and take them to the mat for their mistakes. And nothing about that is going to change.
My favorite thing is that if there's one word I would use to describe Cole Bryson, it's combative.
Is that a good thing?
It's not even a true thing, Cole Bryson. I was completely BSing. I am really excited to hear the first angry Cole v. angry Diesel debate. I'm locked in.
Cole, is your phone
real
dropping
quick,
frames,
guys,
or is that
for
just how
those
your
on the-
face looks?
Oh, I'm sorry. I may have bad service. I apologize.
Yeah, Diesel, he may have bad service. It's
yeah,
definitely not the fact that I feel like I'm watching a 1962 VHS home movie edition of Cole Bryson.
Yeah, it's the up the nose shot in 4 frames per second. That's what I'm really excited for on this
You
show.
are kind of going full boomer on us right now, Cole Bryson. That is correct.
Eye level,
What is
buddy.
boomer? What do
Eye
you mean by
level.
that?
The composition matters. You got to hold the camera up here, pal.
Hey, look, speaking of that, guys, I'm in this hotel trying to be quiet, which I'm not doing. I found South Carolina's team meeting room after last night's game.
Wow. The empty ball.
Shots fired.
It could serve as their
Wait, Diesel. Wait. Are you going to go shots fired like you didn't immediately pop up a video where you told Gamecock fans that, and I quote, Oregon is your daddy, end quote?
Explain to me how that's not accurate. They snagged Jordan Birch.
It's not
away.
accurate. It's
They
not
snagged
accurate. They beat
Cousinard
him one
away,
time.
And then Cousinard, the former Gamecock, puts up 40 on you. He absolutely smoked you. He almost beat you by himself. Okay? Oregon is South Carolina's daddy. Explain to me how I'm wrong. You can't.
Listen, Mark Ryan paid Diesel to continue to say things like that. I saw it happen. I saw the
Not enough. I can promise you that. Not enough.
I don't
Okay,
think
I have to say, when you guys are talking
they
about
beat
who's
them.
your daddy, I can see you guys with that Pedro Martinez saying, "Call the Yankees my daddy." I can see you guys seeing the "Who's your daddy."
They beat them one time, Diesel. It's not like they beat them 10 days in a row.
Well, they snagged 2 of their elite players. Okay. Look, I know you know this, Cole. There's competition on and off the field. All of it matters.
Yes.
Don't be one of these dudes that says, "Well, outside of the 12 games they play, the other, I'm bad at math, 353 days a year don't matter."
So they didn't have a good season. I mean, you can't say they had a good season.
We're not talking about their season. We're talking about Oregon, South Carolina. If we're going to start straw man arguments here, see, Cole Bryson, you are guilty right here already on the station. You're guilty of creating straw man arguments, and we will not allow that on Wire to Wire. On Wire to Wire, you argue the point, you stay on point. Because if you go off road, you're automatically admitting that you're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about because you cannot stay on point.
But that's no fun.
But this is another way for me to tell you that you're wrong. See, you got to stay on point.
I mean, yeah, they got beat. Like, they got beaten. It wasn't close. I get it. I watched most of the game. But, like, at some point you just got to tip your hat to Oregon. Like, they were the much better team. I don't know if they play 10 times. I don't know if Carolina wins, like, 2 times.
Look, Cole, I mean, if you're going to do this, you might as well go ahead and get on your knees now if you're going to start sucking up to the Gamecocks this much.
I'm just being honest, man. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Do you think South Carolina could have beat Oregon 5 times if they played 10 times or no?
4 times, maybe.
4
times, maybe.
BJ Mack didn't hit a shot for the first, 3 days, wasn't it? I mean, how long did he go without a field goal?
Hey, if you got a program where your best players don't show up, you are unlikely to be successful.
All right, hang on. I'm going to jump in here for a number of reasons, not the least of which is I think you guys are missing a couple of things. Number one, the new objective for South Carolina is set. You have to find a 5 this offseason. Every game that you got beat by a big man. Dante yesterday was just playing next level basketball, and South Carolina had no answer. And as far as Cousinard goes, look, South Carolina didn't do anything wrong. I don't know about you guys. Moving on from Frank Martin was the right decision at the time. The problem is Jermaine Cousinard was a Frank Martin guy. And if we have the portal and you leave because you, as I've said on this show many times, guys, players don't play for programs anymore. They don't play for logos anymore. They don't play for school pride. We're past that. Players play for coaches, cultures, and cash, the 3 C's of college sports. When Frank Martin was gone, the coach, and when Frank Martin's culture was gone, the culture, and when Oregon, a team backed by Phil Knight, there's the cash, all check down the 3 C's. South Carolina didn't do anything wrong, Diesel. Oregon didn't do anything specifically to beat Carolina that they couldn't have done to any other school. It was just the wrong place, wrong time. Yeah, the loss stung yesterday, but I'm going to go with Cole on this one in that this is a season to be celebrated, even if the loss was a crap one, because if Dante's not hurt for about 13 games this year, the Oregon Ducks are a lock for the tournament instead of winning to get in. I think a lot of people saw the 11 seed and got confused. Oregon was 5 seed, 6 seed good when they were at full strength.
Yeah, but South Carolina was a top 15 program for a good part of this season. I'm not going to allow anyone to paint me into a corner and say that in my video I did not say that you just had a fantastic season. You had an elite level season, top 15 program in the country, and the damn wheels fell off over the past 2 weeks for the South Carolina Gamecocks.
I wouldn't say they fell off for the past 2 weeks because the wheels fell off for Clemson.
Bro.
South Carolina was at least, they were at least playing with teams. Clemson's the one that the wheels fell off, I feel like.
I'm not arguing there. Clemson fans have been telling us for the past for the past 3 months that they were waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the wheels to fall off. I am not arguing that at all.
But guys, let's ask this question: what does that really matter, though? Because we just saw last night, Kentucky was playing better basketball than anybody, really. I mean, especially down the stretch, Kentucky was playing some of the best basketball. And when you get into the tournament, it's about styles and matchups. And you saw last night that Kentucky just had a dogfight with a team, a style that they really weren't used to. Coach Cal talked about it on our station a couple of days ago, and how that Oakland, their zone defense was going to bring a style that was going to be tough for his guys. But I know we say this all the time for MLB and NBA. I don't want to say the regular season doesn't matter, but we saw a team with Kentucky who was playing really good, and then they're bouncing the first round because of a different style. So does how you're playing down the stretch really mean as much as we think?
Let's
Look,
do this.
I will fight you on the style argument forever. These schools, Kentucky has 5 stars littered all over that campus. They've got a tremendous, gargantuan resource advantage. Kentucky has every single advantage. The only thing they didn't have was Ray Zelensky, the auto parts king, on the court, and Oakland ripped them apart with that guy.
Yeah, and if you have a 7-game series, Kentucky probably wins, right?
But this is not about 7-game series. This is a 1-game series.
That's what I'm saying. So styles do matter, because all you got to do is beat them one time.
Let's do this, fellas. We are up on it. Stick around. We're going to have Diesel and Cole stick around for another segment. I'm not asking if they can. I'm telling them they will, because this is promotion time. The boys got a new show. It starts on Monday from 3 to 7 p.m. It's Wire number 2 Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel. We got to take a break. We come back. We will talk a little bit about that show, the direction of the show, what you guys can expect to hear from the show. We'll do that when we come back. It's the Rob Brown Show with Diesel and Cole on the Fan Upstate.
Hey, my computer's making me want to throw a restart real quick. I'll do this. I'll be right back.
Yep.
He lied. He's not coming back.
Did you just find a random-ass couch to lay down on during the break?
I did.
I've never been more proud of you.
Heck yeah, man.
All right. We're going to step away for 30 seconds, guys.
At?
We'll be right back with Diesel and Cole. Hold tight.
Hey, Cole.
Yo.
I love your name. Your mom.
You like that?
Yeah.
That's really professional, isn't it?
It's very grown up of you. What StreamYard meeting were you in that you popped your name up as your mom?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to the other guy in the StreamYard whose name is your mom.
What was the question?
What kind of StreamYard were you doing that you changed your name to your mom, or did you just do that?
No, I did it when I came in the first time.
Beautiful. What are you doing in Louisville? Work?
Yeah, it's a work conference. It's bullshit. You know how you have to sit through these things.
We are streaming public to the world, FYI.
I'm trying to figure out this Catholic church right here, Diesel. I'm trying to figure out if they have church on Friday or if it's homeless people.
Should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution.
I think it's home.
His policies as well.
Big Lou.
Big Lou.
$1 million.
He's only on number 2.
Because he's only on the number 2.
6898. That's 800 700
$1 million.
For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
So there's a big COVID outbreak up there now. Is that right?
Message. The government will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between
Can you hear me?
100,000 and 550,000.
Yes, we're ignoring you because we're in public right now.
Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues. You may be entitled to a significant financial reward for your Camp Lejeune claim and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement with your VA benefits fully protected. But the deadline.
Did you guys see this dude whose tweet went massively viral after the Kentucky loss? He at Kenny Fair 3 on Twitter. If Calipari is allowed back in Lexington, I will make January 6th look like a kindergarten birthday party. And apparently, thousands of people have been tagging the FBI in that tweet.
Yeah, he.
Oh God.
He's like every dumb tweet I've ever sent, and this is the one that goes viral.
30 seconds.
But is there anything
I'm gonna
wrong
go
with
look and
that?
see
Like,
if
I
this
don't
tweet's
think I don't
still
see
up.
anything wrong.
It's technically a threat.
20-volt max tool. Get one DeWalt 20-volt max power stack battery 2-pack free, a $179 value. Plus, save $20 on the select bucket of Deck Plus wood.
10 seconds.
Find these deals and more in-store and online today. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros.
Valid 318 through 329. While supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Sound off on the text line.
At 71307. Keyword fan.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show, only on the Fan.
Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate inside the final half hour of the radio broadcast. And for at least a few more minutes, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined here on the show by the host of the brand new show that will start this upcoming Monday from 3 to 7 right here and only every single weekday on the Fan Upstate is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole. We got Cole Bryson. We got Diesel on the show with us today to let you guys know a little bit about what is going to happen starting on Monday and continuing until one of them assaults the other in public. I'm looking forward to it. You guys should as well. Look, I want to get back to the basketball, maybe talk a little Carolina Panthers if we have time before we get out of here, fellas. But take a second. I'll let both of you give it a run. Take a second and just let people know what they can expect out of Wire to Wire when it starts up on Monday.
Yeah,
Ladies
I'll take
first.
this
You go,
first.
Diesel.
Yeah, Wire to Wire, man. This is going to be a high octane, high energy, spark plug type of show. Our intention is to throw it at the listeners each and every day, each and every segment. Look, Cole and I, we've done a lot of radio together. He and I have such a fantastic rapport, and I truly believe that's why Mark Hendricks put us together on this show. You've got now 2 host caliber talents on this show, and we both have the ability to rip it up, chop it up, and throw it back and forth at each other. And ultimately, that's what everybody's here for, right? Everybody is here to be entertained. We are Maximus Decimus Meridius, and we are asking, are you not entertained? That is what this show is going to be. It's Wire, the number 2 Wire to Wire. That's what this show is all about.
And to echo what Diesel said, like, we know that afternoon drive, a lot of people are going home, picking up their kid, whatever it is, right? But our goal is to provide such an entertaining show, such a high-quality show, such a fast-paced radio program that people have no choice but to listen wire to wire, front to back, beginning to end. And I couldn't be more excited to start. Is it this Monday, guys? Do I have to get back? Like, is it 3 days away? Is that right?
Yes, listen, guy who opened by saying, "Hi, guys, it's a struggle. I'm at the Omni right now, and I'm having a hard time." Shut up, Cole. Yes, you have to come back to work on Monday.
All right, I'll be there Monday.
Look, good enough for me. I only have to listen from 3 to 7. My day is way over at that point. Very much looking forward to it. It has been, it's obviously been, I've had the opportunity to work with both of you guys in different capacities. Cole and I have done some high school football, and he's filled in on this show when Lonzo's out. Obviously, history of the station, Diesel and I started together on a show before we shifted time slots and moved around a little bit. I've had the chance to work with both of you guys, and as the most friendly, affable, lovable, charismatic person in both of your lives right now, I'm really intrigued because both of you guys, and I think it's part of the role we play in doing this, but both of you guys tend to have some real solid, real strong opinions, and very rarely do they seem to line up with each other. So how's that going to go?
Well, when you stick your tongue on a 9-volt battery, Rob, that's what this is going to go like.
Ooh.
For the
Can we
record,
get an
Diesel, no, I
illustration,
don't
please,
know
Diesel?
what that's like because I've never been tempted to lick a battery.
Well, you should try it. Everybody should ride the lightning once in their lives.
I've been tased before. Like, not in a weird way. Like, it was like a military training thing. Like, not like I was walking down an
How
alleyway
would
and
you
got tased kind of thing.
Time out. How would you describe being tased in a weird way?
I think he means in a sexual way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go with, but my mom listens to this show, so I got to be
Yeah, this show is
careful, you know what I mean?
G-rated, sir.
Sorry, I apologize.
No, it's all good. Listen, it's a very valid question. And as soon as I said it, I immediately regretted it. So I appreciate you making it a point of emphasis, Cole. Thank you very much.
Hey, listen, one other thing real quick. You know what? Our listeners, their mornings will be better when they tune into the Rob Brown Show, and your listeners, their afternoons will be better when they tune into Wire to Wire. Our goal, man, is to not only bring a electric, compelling program, but to play off of each other as much as possible. Because I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but we're all on the same team, right? So our goal is to play off of each other, have each other on our programs as well. You and Lonzo, Diesel and I, and make this thing the best it's ever been.
No, I agree entirely. I was going to say, I can't tell if Diesel's frozen or if he's just so bored that he went catatonic on us there for a second.
Well, he was talking about you. I figured you would take the opportunity to jump in and talk about you because you love you more than anybody.
As T.O. once said, I love me some me, baby.
I thought my screen
speaking
froze.
of, let's set him up here for a second, Diesel. Let's see how Cole Bryson takes the reins. The Dallas Cowboys, Cole, are hilarious right now to me. They're hilarious to me right now. Like, the funniest thing is Steven, baby Jerry, hitting you with the we're all in, and then doing absolutely and precisely nothing. Are you silver lininged, or are you joining the rest of American sports fans and realizing that your ownership sucks still?
Oh my gosh. How long do we have? Like, to answer the question, yes. I mean, here's the problem. Before that statement was made, they were on the setting was they were on Jerry's bus. The media got on the bus. It was 3 or 4 media members, and somebody asked them if they were going to be all in during the off season, right? Well, Jerry's response was, the first thing he said was, what does all in mean? Everybody has a different definition of all in. So, again, that's his cop-out. That's his way of already letting you know that regardless of what he does, he can justify it to what he wants to, the way he wants to spin it, right? Rob, I would love to say that I'm surprised, but I've been dealing with this for 27 years. Like, nothing surprises me anymore. Like, if they just went on their yacht and said, we'll see you suckers in August, it wouldn't surprise me, man.
Wait a minute. Is Jerry Jones just straight ripping everything from the Clemson program off? All in is a Clemson thing. The bus, why don't he just go ahead and call it the Roy bus while he's at it? And now he's changing the definitions of words like best is the standard. I mean, come on, Jerry Jones. You're rich enough. At least spring for the paid version of Chat GPT and come up with something better than all of those things Clemson's already using.
Hey, Diesel, I got a question for you. So with the new show coming on, just kind of give the listeners a little brief rundown of what to expect. I know you've kind of touched a little bit about it, but give a little more like in depth about what Wire to Wire will be like. Is it going to be fast paced, in your face kind of thing, like a Get Up kind of show, or some? Just give us a little details of what you and Cole are going to give the listeners to listen to.
Well, yeah, it is going to be a fast paced show because you know, Cole and I are both. Not to look into the trash can in the studio at the radio station, but we are Monster Energy drink personified. We are two high energy guys, and our goal here is to talk everything that the audience cares about. So where the show previously was lacking in Braves coverage, we got Braves coverage. Where the show was previously lacking a little bit in Panthers coverage, we're going to hit Panthers coverage. We're going to hit Falcons coverage. We're going to hit Masters coverage more than we ever have on this station before. So our goal, just like the phrase means, wire to wire, like when a basketball team scores the first bucket of a game and they end up winning the game, our goal is to cover everything that the audience cares about.
Okay, hang on. One rootin' tootin' gosh darn second here.
How many monster cans are in your trash can right now, Rob?
Well, first off, they're not in my trash can. I'm literally holding it still. I haven't finished this one yet.
Placement.
Second off, one of the things that I can tell you I'm excited about is what Cole just mentioned a second ago. The other day after the announcement got made, the three of us stood in the studio for a little while and we talked a little bit because obviously we all have a vested interest and influence in the direction that the station goes moving forward. And we all said the same thing, which is we want the shows to be separate shows but intertwined. They are their own identities. They have their own identities, but they also work together. I want you guys on the Rob Brown Show to talk about stuff. I'm going to come on Wire to Wire to talk about stuff. And that's all well and good. But Diesel, did you just tell me that you are going to bring more Masters coverage to the show, to the station than ever before? Because you know I still work here, right?
No, I'm talking about our day part, our show.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The previous show that I was a part of, we didn't touch on golf except for when it intersected and ruffled the feathers as far as live golf is concerned. And look, there is meat on that bone. Trust me, there's meat on that bone. But that can't be the only reason that you cover golf. Otherwise, it gets tiresome.
Good. I look forward to my invitation to come on and talk Masters with you because it is in just a couple of weeks. And Diesel, and this is what I'm excited about, Cole, to come on your show and talk about because I know the invitation will be extended. Cole, Masters weekend and WrestleMania are on the same weekend this year, pal.
You know, is it bad that when you say Masters, the first thing I think about is those pimento cheese sandwiches they sell?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. They're delicious.
Listen, you know what? I am excited because I'll admit this. I'm not a golf guy, right? However, our audience, there are plenty of people in our audience that are golf guys, right? And I think that it does deserve the coverage. And for those that care, I think that Diesel and I will obviously cover it, but we will let them be a part of the show in a way where I don't want to make it sound like they're hosting a segment, but we want them to have a voice as well. So while our show is going to be energetic, high-paced, as Diesel has said, it is also going to be a way for our audience to feel like they have a voice, and we're going to let them be involved, and we want it to be very, very interactive and continue that. I feel like the show already did a good job of that, but we want to continue that as well.
Diesel, I like that. You and I have talked about this for a while. Part of the reason that we have put in the work we've built in to build up the stream, to make sure that we're present across social media platforms, etc., is because everybody here at the Fan Upstate, like, we call ourselves the voice of the upstate sports fan for a reason. We don't call it the voice to the upstate sports fan, the voice at the upstate sports fan. It is the voice of, because we do it here on this show. I know you guys are going to do it on yours. we want you to be a part of it. We want the listener to be involved. We want the listener to not just feel like I'm going to tune in to hear what Diesel and Cole have to say, or I'm going to tune in to hear what Rob Brown has to say. The stream comments are always up on this show. The Twitter is always up on our show, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, the fact that you guys are going to go out of your way to make sure that there is, and I know that it's always been this way with offsides, but the continued interaction with the upstate fans, like, that's great. That's what we should have.
Yeah, I mean, I give Mark Ryan a ton of credit. Mark Ryan and yourself both a ton of credit because it's not something that happened just over the last year or the last 2 years or the last 3 years. The community that this station has built, I think it would be the envy of a lot of radio stations across this country. We have dedicated diehard P1s who listen to both of our shows each and every day. And they are in that comment section. They are picking up the phone every single day. And I just want all the listeners who know to know that we value that more than they can understand.
Diesel and Cole Bright. Well, Cole left because he's at the Omni and he'll be back. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't.
You got to go fill that glass with something else.
Something. Yeah, it's definitely water. My man woke up, jumped on the stream, and immediately asked about the best way to ingest aspirin, but it was totally just water in that cup. Okay, Cole, for sure. Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole starts on Monday. It will air every weekday from 3 to 7. Diesel, we got to go. Do us a favor. Give us a sample. Take us to break in the way that only Diesel can.
Well, hey, I tell you what, we're going to do something that's going to surprise people. The way we go to break, we are not going to do this long, drawn out, give us a call, we're going to break, shoot us a text, find our email. No, we are going to keep you on your toes. We're going to keep you on your toes for when we toss to these ad breaks. You know why? Because we believe in not wasting your time. So you know what? We just up and
yeah, he left. he just left. He just left. Oh. What a diva move! I'm calling him Diva Soul from now on. Wire to Wire starts on Monday, 3 to 7, every weekday with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Brother, congratulations again, man. I'm stoked for you guys. Can't wait to listen on Monday.
Yeah, man, we're excited. I appreciate you, Rob Brown, for all of your support. You, Brandon, for your, what is it now, a year and a half of hard work at the radio station.
Yep, year and a half, man.
You know a big dog.
Let's get it, Diesel.
Well done. All right, we got to run to a break. We're going to come back. I'm going to give you my best bets and picks for the college bracket today. Clemson taking on New Mexico. They are dogs in this one. I already laid out the secret sauce of what they need to do to win. I'll tell you if they will. When we come back, it's Rob, it's Brandon filling in for Lonzo. Diesel and Cole start on Monday, 3 to 7. We start again in like 4 minutes. Don't go anywhere. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
Oh, Rob, I appreciate you bringing me on. Texter wants to know if I was going to talk wrestling on the show. No. Come on, guys. We real sports only, okay? We'll leave the kids' sports to the Rob Brown Show.
The great news is that I know Cole Bryson is too nice of a guy to hang up on callers. So when he's working the phones, I'm not saying Jim Bob from Picken County going to call in to talk some WrestleMania, but Jim Bob from Picken County might call in and talk some WrestleMania is all I'm saying, Diesel.
Rob, I appreciate you having me on the show today, man.
You know
this
it, buddy.
Blast,
congratulations again. I look forward to hearing you guys
so
Monday,
much.
man.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good afternoon. Enjoy the games.
See y'all.
See you, Diesel.
There you go. There's Diesel and Cole. Cole got kicked, and then he was like, screw it. I don't need to They got the gist of it. And now I got to go clean out my comments because he said we'll cover real sports only, and it went onto my Facebook profile where
like
we
5 of 'em.
absolutely talk wrestling. Doesn't matter the outcome. Clemson still lasted longer the tournament than SC. Now call Will Wade, you cowards.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me host you this week, man. I appreciate it, bud.
Thanks for coming in, man.
I had a blast. You have a minute and a half.
Beautiful. Hush. 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 Hush.
That's kind of about like when Stella does. She starts barking randomly out of the blue.
No, somebody just knocked something over outside.
Oh. When someone when a UPS truck comes to our neighborhood, Stella's like, "What is that? What is that?"
Yep.
You got 20 seconds.
Remy! Anybody want a free dog?
All right, 10 seconds.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, wrapping up the broadcast here on the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. One last look up and down today's brackets because we've got some teams in action. UConn and Stetson today. I don't think UConn's going to have too much of a problem. They are like a 30-point favorite in this game. So I think that this tournament is likely not going to see the 16-1 upset, though we do have only one that's played so far. North Carolina and Wagner. Purdue and Grambling play tonight at 7:15. Houston and Longwood at 9:20. UConn and Stetson at 2:45. Best game of the day, I think FAU Northwestern is going to be a good one. I am actually shocked how far apart the line is for San Diego State UAB. I looked that up a little while ago. San Diego State is listed at like a 13 last I saw, and it could be different now. In fact, I'll go ahead and pull it up on BetQL and BetMGM. San Diego State, okay, it is at 7 points in that one, which I think is reasonable. I actually like UAB with the cover there. Just very similar to the reasons that I like the upset with Stanford last night. With Samford last night. They play a style of ball that is hectic. San Diego State has one of, if not the best defenses in all of college basketball. UAB is a patient team, but they're a quick team. Patient but quick. So I'm intrigued by that. Auburn takes on Yale today at 4:15. I've already told you, Auburn is my national championship selection this year. I got the War Eagle Tigers cutting down the nets when this tournament comes to its conclusion in a couple of weeks. So I like Auburn over Yale today. Over on the other side, out of the South region, Houston takes on Longwood. We have already told you Oral Roberts has won from this spot. Farley Dickinson has won from this spot. Longwood adding to the phallic connotations. If they can get the win over Houston, they won't. Houston by 1 million today. I also like Nebraska over A&M. And by the way, I think at this point, we can, with what happened to Mississippi State, with what happened to Kentucky, what happened to South Carolina yesterday, I got to tell you, I'm a little less confident now in my pick of Auburn, a little less confident now in my pick of Alabama all the way to the Sweet 16, because all of a sudden it looks like maybe the SEC was just a little overrated. Maybe it looks like the SEC did what so many fans have accused them of doing in football for so many years, which is basically just beating up on each other and nobody else. All of a sudden, Clemson knocking off Alabama, maybe it doesn't look as valuable of a win as maybe it should have in years or in months gone by, because the SEC is very, very, very front and center on the struggle bus in this tournament right now.
Hey, Rob.
So,
can you give us your Cinderella pick for today, please? Because I'm eager to hear this.
I'm going to tell you, I like James Madison over Wisconsin out of the 12-5 matchup. I think James Madison's got a very underappreciated team, and I think, frankly, Wisconsin probably burned through a lot of their rocket fuel running through their conference tournament, so I like Wisconsin down there. I got to tell you, I picked NC State to win outright yesterday. I'm picking NC State to beat Oakland. I've got NC State in the Sweet 16, and I'm feeling real, real good about that pick. I like Florida today over Colorado. It's not an upset. Florida the 17, Colorado the 10, but there's been a lot of hype following the Buffaloes over the last couple of weeks running through their conference tournament. Listen, Florida's a good team. Todd Golden is a good coach. Florida's a hectic team, and on top of that, I don't think it's going to last more than one game. But Florida's got that emotional edge, right? They got their boy sitting in the hospital with the shattered leg bone. They got somebody to play for today. Purdue's going to beat Grambling State by 1,000 later today. I do like Utah State over TCU. I am going Clemson over New Mexico, both in the bracket and on the money line bet. You're getting plus money for a team that's got a good versus top 25 record as anybody else in all of college basketball. And you're telling me that the way that you beat New Mexico is by utilizing your inside players, and then you're giving me PJ Hall? Give me Clemson to win over New Mexico today as well. I like Alabama over Charleston and the cover. I like St. Mary's over GCU. Grand Canyon feels like one of those teams that people are trying to force into the Cinderella role. You do not force a team into the Cinderella role. They either take it and run with it like the Oakland Golden Grizzlies did last night, or they don't. St. Mary's going to knock off Grand Canyon today. And then I think that's the matchups. I got Auburn over Yale. San Diego State falls to UAB in a 5-12 upset. Actually, I got 5-12 upsets in both of those games today. I'm taking the 12 UAB over San Diego State. I'm taking the 12 James Madison over Wisconsin. There's my favorite picks of the day, big dog.
Yes, sir. Good picks, man. I my team that I'm watching tonight, I'm gonna say, is Grand Canyon. I feel like Grand Canyon can pull the upset over St. Mary's.
Well, you nailed the one yesterday. We'll see if he sticks with it with the success today. Brandon, great job this week, man. I
really appreciate getting to work with you, man.
Pal.
I had a blast, man.
Absolutely. Thank all you guys for sticking around, for listening, for hanging out with us all week long. I hope you enjoy today's first round games in the bracket. When we get back on Monday, we'll obviously take a very deep look at what happens today and tomorrow and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, because we roll right into the second round. Basketball is just the best. You guys, thank you very much for listening. Lonzo will rejoin us coming up on Monday's edition of the show, and it's basketball heavy throughout the rest of the tournament. I appreciate you guys being here. Bet for the Cycle airs tomorrow from noon to 4 on the BetQL Network. Myself, former MLB player Cody Decker, executive producer Hayden Ass Mario. We'll be lined up for you tomorrow, noon to 4 on the BetQL Network. You can find us on Twitch, on YouTube, or on the Odyssey app. Then on Sunday, from 9 until noon, I will be filling in for Sean Marash on BetQL's 5-Star Weekend. That is going to air from 9 to noon on Sunday, because honestly, who the hell needs a day off? So noon to 4 tomorrow on the BetQL Network, 9 to noon on Sunday, and then we are back in the saddle on Monday morning. For Brandon, for Lonzo, for Diesel and Cole, congrats on the new show, boys. Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel starts on Monday, 3 to 7 every weekday. To all of you, from all of us, hearts, we love you. Thanks for being here. Have a fantastic weekend. Drew not drink and drive. I will punch you in the face. And we'll see you back here on Monday for another rousing edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Yeah!
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Let the game come to you, no matter where you go. In Anderson, Clemson, Greenville, and Spartanburg. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite. Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's BetMGM Tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11. Only on the Fan
Upstate.
BetMGM Tonight is the red zone for casual and hardcore sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. Get the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and...
Thank you, sir.
Is there...
All right, man. Thank you very much. Good week this week. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it, man. You have a good weekend, all right?
You as well. To everybody out there in Sportslandia, you're all spectacular people. I appreciate you being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Should be back in the studio on Monday. I will let you know when we get an update. If anybody is out and about this weekend watching basketball, holler at your boy. I will be somewhere most of the time that I'm not on the radio. Y'all have a great weekend. Thank you for watching. See you later. Goodbye. Adios.